see what you're trying to do. Yeah. It's them boys again. Apostates. Yeah. Let's go. Apostate Radio.
You know,
Apostate Radio. Sorry. A little long in the tooth there.
Yeah, you're just gonna sing the drops from here on out. Like when we finally get a like a theme song. Yeah, you're gonna sing the whole fucking thing. I'm just deciding on that.
It won't be the first time.
Oh God, what a week, what a day. Greetings, people. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. It is if it's Sunday night, it is Apostate Radio, and we have been away for the last couple of weeks, but we are back. I wanted to say, yes, we are back at it. I am, of course, Isaiah Carter, coming to you from East Westchester, overlooking the Long Island Sound, and to the right of your screen, Mr. Nino Chavez from the land of Apeats. What's good, bro?
Not much, brother. Just chilling, ready to talk to these two gentlemen here. They've been in the news a little bit last couple of weeks.
I know, right? This is this actually has the shaping up to be like the best and biggest show of all time.
Well, let's not get our horses ahead of the cart. Cart ahead of the horses.
Let's not get our hopes up. Let's do this quick little bit of business first. Of course, you can follow us individually. We are on X. We are on the socials. At Isaiah L. Carter and also at Nino Chavez X, where we do our things individually. We try our best to, keep everything moving. Also, for all show updates, for all announcements and, where and what we're working on, you can follow us at Apostate Radio NY. You can we are listen, the holidays have been rough on all of us. Things have been crazy on both of our parts. We do need your support financially. You can do so at buymeacoffee.com/apostate radio. You can also do so in the top right-hand corner of this screen, where we have our Apostate Radio Venmo. You can Venmo us also directly as well. You can also, if you want to wear our merch, and I'm getting some in the next couple of weeks, you can. What's it? What?
Well, I don't know if we talked about the new underwear line I'm putting out with the Apostate Radio underwear.
No, we didn't. Are we talking?
Yeah, that's going to be live soon, man. You get to have. You get to dress like I do under my underpants, undergarments. It's a Swiss cheese look.
Oh my God!
Look like the Brooklyn Brawler.
The Brooklyn
wrestling fans out there.
No. Oh God, I remember him.
Yours look like the shirt of the Brooklyn Brawler. So we're selling them. I'm thinking of selling them for like $80 a piece. So
there we go. Oh my God. Tonight's guests, we got two of them. We got two of the biggest people on the internet. One makes a lot of noise for all of the wrong people, and quite damn proud of it. The other guy just wants to be funny and make stuff for the Babylon Bee. However, both of them were caught in the crosshairs a couple of weeks ago, and we are going to talk about this from the blue corner. Well, I don't know if we can necessarily call them like colored corners. Coming to the stage first is the managing editor of the Babylon Bee, a combat veteran. We thank this gentleman for his service. He's an amazing man. He is returning this second time on our show. We are truly blessed and honored to have the incredible Joel Berry on the show. What's up, brother? How are you?
Oh, hi. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be back a second time. This is an honor.
Yeah. We're happy.
We're the ones proud.
I was good enough to be invited back. This is great.
Yes.
Yes. After you endured the rhetorical torture act that is Tim Cook or Tim Pool. Sorry.
Yeah.
He gets rapid fire, huh? He starts talking fast and talking over you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a fast guy. I'm not a debate me, bro. I just want to have a discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm not very quick on the updates. So when
nobody's
does the same thing, when you can just like rapid fire stuff and like overwhelm the guest, I'm screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's no way I'm coming out on top.
Nah, nobody's quite like Tim Pool. Not too many people when it comes to that. He just starts. He kind of puts a lot of energy, and he's quick. He is quick thinking guy. Puts a lot of energy out and kind of just overwhelms everybody he talks to if he starts getting mad.
Yeah. And real quick, I want to bring in our other guest, who is kind of like family at this point, seeing as this is his not his second, but his third appearance on our show. I want to once again. Is he really dabbing? Are you dabbing? Oh my God!
Me? Not me. I was a dabber.
No. Oh. I'm looking at him. I
can't see him.
Lower. Look at the lower part of your.
I got the full screen on. Let me see.
Yeah, coming to us. From somewhere. You know what? Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Coming to us from in front of his legendary map of the world. From somewhere in Tennessee, our good friend, making his once again third appearance on the show, the Grand Master of Anti-Communism, Dr. James Lindsay.
There he is. Oh,
hey.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man. How you doing? Yeah, I got my map behind me. Israel's on it. It's legit.
Oof. Gotta have Israel.
Right?
That looking like Ferdinand Magellan back there with your map, man.
First of all, I disavow.
Disavow.
You disavow?
Gotta get that out.
You disavow? Yeah.
James Lindsay.
I was gonna, and you know what? And I got.
Should we all disavow James
that means
Lindsay?
I got dressed up for nothing.
Should we just do it?
I disavow James Lindsay spelled with an E.
Oh.
Hope I didn't do
Sorry if there's like some James Lindsay out there who just got his feelings hurt.
Oh my God.
Spelled with an A like a real man.
That's right.
We got some the comments are already crazy. Jay Marie says, "Hey James, what is this?"
Yeah.
He said James is this is old. Hold on a second, but now we got let me see.
Come on, guys.
Stackademic Slagent. I don't know who that is. Evening gentlemen. I don't know who that is. Our old friend Marie Isabella, who is an expert memer, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen some of these Franklin the Turtle memes. We'll talk about that a little later. Oh,
I'm not familiar with that.
Masterclass. I'll show you a few of them.
Oh, actually, no, I am familiar with that. I'm sorry. I've seen those.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I know.
You got guys who are really hyped up. Big fan, hyped for Lindsay. Marie asked, "Are you still holding out for Christmas, Chavez?" I guess
holding out for what? Oh, my terrible undergarment situation.
I guess that's what he was talking about.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping for some stocking stuffers or
something like that.
Somebody. Hopefully, my parents come through with some Hanes.
Yeah. Well, let's get down to business. As after I tortured myself watching the Ravens lose to our biggest rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hate those fucking guys. Okay, and again, after I tortured myself watching my team lose, I decided to torture myself and listen to the Timcast episode. Was that was the culture war podcast
Yes.
thing you were on, right? And I just want to make sure I get that right.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen, Joel was on the Culture War podcast with Tim Pool and Aaron McIntyre, or was that George Stephanopoulos' twin? I couldn't really.
His mother
couldn't really
Agapia.
Probably, I don't know. You know. But so he was on the show with those guys, and this is honestly frustrating because the first 40 some minutes of the show was almost like they were like it felt like you guys were trying to get to some kind of middle ground. It felt like that, right? But then all of a sudden, right around minute 49, and I'm gonna play the video in just a second. It's like you start talking about no enemies to the right, and then it's like and then he just takes you like Negan from off of The Walking Dead. He just takes a baseball bat to you. Like what? Joel, what was that about? Like seriously, what was that about? And since James is here on our show, we'll give you I can't even say it with a straight face. What were you going through, and why James? Why? How did that start? Were you prepared for that?
No, I wasn't prepared for that, and that's my fault. I should have expected that was going to be thrown at me, and it's frustrating because if I was a little quicker on the uptake, I probably could have been a little smarter and given it back to him. But I was just so blindsided by it. I'm pretty naive with these sorts of things. I'm like, we're all trying to get to the truth here. We all we're all operating in good faith. We just want to come to an understanding and figure this out together. And I genuinely, with Aaron McIntyre, that it's weird. The question I get all the time about Aaron and me is like, why are you guys fighting? Like, I don't understand it, because you seem to agree on like 99% of stuff. And if you look at our Twitter feeds, you'll see that, we repost a lot of the same people. We say a lot of the same sorts of things. We seem to have a lot of common enemies. And so that I was kind of hoping to kind of clarify where the divide was between me and Aaron, between, standard, traditional Christian conservatives and like the post liberals. I thought it went well for the first, like you said, 45, 50 minutes or so. And then it turned into like a denounce this guy, denounce that guy game. And, and it was that for like the next hour after that. So, it was frustrating. And, they were trying to trip me up, as kind of like a hypocrite. Like because, I denounce, Nick Fuentes, and I publicly disagree with Nick Fuentes, but, because I don't also, denounce James Lindsay, that makes me a hypocrite, because they're, Nick Fuentes and James Lindsay are both evil, unspeakably evil people. So, James, I should have taken James's advice, because I think, James, you were like, this is a bad idea, man.
Well, I think, to be clear, Joel, I think he did a great job on there. There was a couple minutes where he was just kind of trying to steamroll you a little bit, but I think you did fine. You didn't lose your cool. You brought up a lot of good points. It's tough when you got two guys coming at you and with that kind of energy, and kind of trying to ambush you, especially maybe Tim. But I thought it was fine. And I think, it was like maybe 4 minutes of that or something. Then it kind of started going a little bit back down to normal. It was still a good conversation, but he's very intense. He's a very intense.
If anything,
guy.
I hope I served to help bring some stuff out. It's like to bring some stuff out in the open, clarify a few things for people who are confused about what this fight is about. I think the audience was able to hear a few things that kind of maybe raised their eyebrows a little bit. Same thing with my conversation. I had a similar conversation with another post-liberal named Dave Green, and really just kind of trying to draw out that ideology so people can see it for what it is. I think I at least did some of that. So, I'm not out to like be a debate star or anything, but if I can help to kind of bring attention more toward what the debate is and where the divide is, that I think that serves its purpose.
James, you saw this. I'm assuming you watched it since you were the matter of fact. Let me, if you don't, well, what I'll do, let me go ahead and bring
You're
up.
probably about to show more of it than I've seen, but go ahead.
While you pull it up, I'll bring out a quote or paraphrase quote. That I think Tim described James Lindsay as some people were having like a debate against the quote unquote woke right or something like that, and James Lindsay shows up and takes a shit on the floor and hands it to you or something and gives it to everybody and ruins the whole movement. It was kind of how he portrayed James at one point. Yeah. So I don't know. How did that hurt your feelings, James?
In the yeah, my poor feelings are just crumbling. Oh my god.
Right.
Yeah. So
like you kind of described you as a mischievous like primate or something.
Well, I mean,
in a zoo that shits on the floor and throws it.
I guess.
We all have our moments when we're
after a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, like it's just silly. He's just mad. It's like
he was very.
In fact,
mad.
This is my favorite thing. Like Joel's over here having this post-mortem. He's like, I think I brought up some points. I was looking for this, and people heard some stuff, and I'm like, people were shocked that for whatever reason you go to do a debate and the moderator decides it's his debate now, and it's going to be about this guy that's not even there.
Yeah,
for the whole time for no freaking reason. It was like, so funny.
I actually have it queued. I have it queued to where like the conversation was. Okay, like I was prepared for this. So, anyways, so do
you guys want to? Before I say, are you gonna play that whole segment, or what are you gonna do? Because I don't know if these guys.
I'm not gonna play the whole segment.
Yeah,
but what I want to do is kind of I'm sure, but like I kind of want to give like for the benefit of our audience, I want to give them the opportunity to see exactly what happened. Like, and because see, even the clip that I had was not complete. What I did was I went back to the Culture War podcast, like the YouTube channel, and found like the full conversation, and it's even worse than what I thought. I'm dead serious. It's even worse. So I have it queued up now. Let me bring it up here.
Remember, we are the media now.
We are the media.
We are the
now.
media.
Exactly.
We're basically CNN over here, guys.
So I have it queued up to where to what Joel was talking about. Okay, and like you see, he's in like his lumberjack coat there. Like it's a wonder you didn't have like an axe like queued up behind you there.
This is all I wear. I have like 3 of them, and I just switch between the 3.
Here we go.
I got shirts like that.
Yeah, here we go.
So realpolitik is not actual reality, because in reality, God exists and objective moral truth exists, and we have to account for that and acknowledge that everywhere we go and in everything we do, especially as Christians. And the prime example of this, the big failure that I've seen on the right in tactics and morals, has been this no enemies to the right thing that has become such a big part of the conversation over the last couple of years. Charles Haywood kind of coined this term, no enemies to the right, and the idea being, for the sake of tactics, for the sake of uniting against the left, we need to hold our peace when it comes to calling out evil or wickedness or bad ideas on the right. And after we defeat the left, we can have these conversations. It's all good, but we need to keep our mouths shut. No enemies to the right. And what it did, and what I saw over the next couple of years, is if you follow that all the way down, for one, it's very nihilist. It can almost turn you into this kind of twisted moral monster, and it's the exact same thing that Marxists do. So Marxists they look at.
Now, you were discussing. Joel, you were discussing the whole thing of no enemies to the right. I remember hearing this concept when we were kids. Okay, because we're all roughly in that same age group, and I think I heard it first when I was a little kid during the Reagan administration, and that was kind of the thing where he avoided talking, like, I guess, openly disrespecting people who were on the same side, because I guess he wanted to keep up the appearance of unity, right? And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not even sure I'm getting this correct. But that's essentially what you were discussing, correct? Or like is that what you were going for?
Yeah, well, there's two problems with no enemies to the right. For one, if you are binding people's consciences to where they are not allowed to speak out against evil just because it is serving their side politically, you're doing something wrong. That's evil. The other problem with no enemies to the right is it's being applied against people that aren't really on the right. For example, Nick Fuentes, who is, for all intents and purposes, a leftist. He's the guy who is calling on the right to unite with the left to drop economic freedom so that we can unite with the left against the Jews. It's like, okay, I don't consider that guy on my side. And so it's being used as a bludgeon to force these ideas that aren't even compatible with our movement into our movement. And so it's a disingenuous tactic. And you know, I didn't really manage to get all that out before we ended up talking about my friend James Lindsay here.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't. I mean, it's crazy how he couldn't even wait. Like I kept like you heard him in the back, you know, trying to interject. Like he couldn't wait to hit you with that question. Now, matter of fact, I'll keep going here because this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts.
And everything in terms of oppressed versus oppressor. And so what they end up doing, and you see it all the time, is if wickedness is done by someone who is oppressed, they will defend that wickedness because it's coming from someone who's oppressed. And the same thing on the right. If we have no enemies to the right, what you end up seeing all the time is someone defending wickedness because it's coming from someone who is on the right, who's supposed to be your friend.
Will you condemn James Lindsay?
For what?
For no enemies to the right. Well, he's certainly at odds with your moral worldview, destructive to its ends, and aligning with him has caused you problems. Will you speak out?
Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Hold it. Time the fuck out. Time the fuck out. James.
Yeah.
How are you against conservative values?
I don't know. I don't know how. Did you say how am I against or am I?
Yes.
Yeah,
how?
I don't know. I have no idea. My favorite part of that is the implication that I'm to the right of Joel Berry now, which is like, Joel, will you condemn me because there's an enemy to your right? His name's James. And like, what? How did I get over there?
So wait, to clarify, just to be fair to Tim, because he didn't make it clear till later. I think he thinks that you, James, you join groups and movements, you infiltrate them, and you what a word he used, deconstruct them and make that group look like a fool, make them look like fools, ruin their whole thing. You did it to the left. And now you're doing it to the right. I didn't
do it to the left. Point. I never infiltrated the left. I submitted a bunch of fake academic articles to leftist publications to see if they would publish them. And then they did. And on the exact same day, I said, look what we did. I mean, the exact same day that in that case that the thing came out. I didn't do it on the day the paper got published. Then I did this same thing to a publication on the right, but I never infiltrated any group. As far as
that was
joining
so funny, by the way,
a political group, I became increasingly conservative and willing to go to conservative events and talk at Christian things, including churches. Like I was very hesitant, not because I had something against conservatives or I had something against Christians, but it was like, I don't know if why I had this kind of modesty about it. Like, why am I supposed to be the guy coming into your church and talking to you? Like, it's sort of inappropriate. And then people were very welcoming. And of course, they're very nice and they were very appreciative. And I tried to be very careful about what I said. And I never tried to infiltrate any group. I did a couple of white hat tests of some publishing facilities. First, the peer review thing on the academic left. it's not like I pretended to be a math professor for a bunch of years so I could write fake papers and tricked you. I just thought that they would accept these stupid papers. And I thought that I was reading the Communist Manifesto on a flight to Alaska, and I was like, these idiots will totally publish this. This is exactly up their alley. And I was like, let's test it. And I was right. And it turns out they would.
And under the pseudonym Marcus Carlson, you didn't even change the Karl Marx name very much. It was
I know.
I remember that.
You're giving him hints.
I called Mike O'Fallon and told him I was doing this. I had written the draft and I was going to submit it. He's like, that's not going to work. Don't do it. And I was like, sort of too late.
Oh, yes.
He was like, what name did you submit it under? I was like, Marcus Carlson. And he's like, oh my God, no. And I was like, no, you just watch. These guys are totally asleep at the wheel. Watch.
Here's my thing. Like, don't you think that was a little projective of Tim, though? Here's what I mean. For him to call you an infiltrator or whatever, that he infiltrates movements to make them look like idiots. And here you are talking, you're very critical of people. You've been critical of people on the left, the flat out communists, right? And now you've got Tim Pool, Orrin McIntyre, and other people, Joel Webbin, and all these other people that you're, that you're beefing with, right? Who are proving themselves to be, leftists coming from another direction. And Tim's got these guys on a regular basis. On a more regular basis than he's got like guys like you or Joel or anybody else.
Yes,
and it's not in like the only time. And I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what is genuinely frustrating about Tim. He'll bring on a guy like who's the other Shapiro guy, Brian Shapiro, I think his name is. He'll bring on a shit lib like him, okay, to I guess build up his KD amongst the conservatives, and then talk about a guy who actually wants to conserve stuff, such as yourself and such as Joel, and treat you guys, and put Joel through a struggle session and treat you like your public enemy number one. Like, that seems very projective. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I mean, that's totally possible. What I can say for sure is that it means that he hasn't, and I knew this all along. It's been very frustrating to deal with a lot of these kind of influencers, is that I've had to slowly come to realize, hey, James, come on the show. And I'm like, okay. And then I realized they haven't engaged with a single bit of my work. Like, they literally don't know what I do. But I'm just this kind of figure that says things, and I probably said something on social media that caught their attention. That's why they won't want to have me on. I'm just kind of looking real quick at how many podcasts that I've published, 0 of which are like tricks. And this is 185 of my New Discourses podcast, 136 bullets, and 152 of my subscribers only podcast. So you put those 3 numbers together and you're just short of 500 podcasts, none of which are infiltrative. They're just mostly me reading primary source material to people and saying, hey, I want you to understand this. This is the source. Here's a link to it so you can read along while I talk about it. And so whether it's projective, I mean, I kind of feel that way, but that's an accusation. What I can say for certain is that it's shallow. Like, if that's all Tim knows about my work is that I did the Grievance Studies affair and then wrote this thing for American Reformer, like, no joke, bro, there's 500 podcasts you're behind. Like, catch up.
Yeah, a bunch of books too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the 10 or 11 books or whatever it works out to. I don't know how to count those actually.
Yeah, he's and that Grievance Studies peer review thing you get. Was it called the Grievance Studies Affair? Is that you guys called it? Or that's what a lot of people call it.
We called it the project. We had no name for it.
Back when it was top secret.
Named the Grievance Studies Affair on the back end.
I mean, that was really important. I mean, even though that was like, people could say, oh, it's like a prank or something. But I think that was super important. Very, very useful for everybody to see. I mean, you guys were on Rogan talking about it. It's great that huge platform, and it's great that people heard it. Hey, look, this is what people do with their PhDs and their peer review, like these respected journals and universities, even more respected magazines. where they're you don't have to do any kind of fucking science, any kind of actual studies. You can just totally lift it from Mein Kampf, and change the words around, and they will publish it and give you a PhD for it. And that's absolutely ridiculous and really dangerous. Honestly, it's very dangerous because people base medical decisions on stuff like this. They base educational decisions, things you're going to teach, curriculum on stuff and things like this. And they cite them, right? So that's super important. So I mean that and I think Tim Pool would agree with that. Even though you kind of put that as a criticism of you, that you come and you deconstruct things, or you maybe want to join a movement just to ruin the people in it. But that was totally, I felt like totally honest, totally useful, and I think he would agree with that. So now to the right,
people up, honestly. But when somebody gets dishonest, I'm going to call a spade,
right.
And most of the time, if I have beef with somebody, people are like, why are you beefing with that person? And it's because you didn't see them beef with me first about 4 or 5 times before I finally decide, I guess we're having beef. I let a lot of stuff slide for a long time just because it's what you were referring to, Isaiah, with Reagan's so-called 11th commandment, which was do not, by the way, the phrasing of it was do not criticize another member of the Republican Party. So we could get into all kinds of deep philosophical questions about whether or not, these guys constitute part of the Republican Party or not, seeing as Fuentes certainly doesn't. He's voted for Kamala, or said he was going to vote for Kamala. Nobody knows who he really voted for. Changed his mind about who he wanted to win about 35 times from October 2024 to December 2024, and still changes his mind on it now. So who knows? But I don't see him as this kind of figure of the Republican Party. I'm not even a member of the Republican Party. So you feel free. You're as free as you need to be to disavow. I'm a member of no party. Yeah, I didn't infiltrate the Republicans either.
And the frustrating thing for me too was to see, Tim Pool just a few days later come to the same conclusion about Fuentes that James has been preaching for the last 2 years.
Almost word for word.
That, Tim basically recited Horseshoe Theory 101 regarding Nick Fuentes, and then just this week, Tim finally comes out strong against what Candace Owens is doing. A little late to the party.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I want to talk.
She's going to be the next president and everything, but
we'll talk about that a little later.
What did Tim say about Nick Fuentes? What was the new thing he said about? Because I missed that.
Well, he kind of made my point that Nick Fuentes really isn't on the right. He's a leftist, and he kind of talked about the commonalities between the far left and the far right. They're totalitarian and they're both our enemies. And so, I think I don't know. I'm just kind of getting into this whole influencer class thing, and eventually you kind of come to realize there's different degrees of people who are strictly in it for the ideas and people who are professional influencers, and there's people who are a mix, and it seems like some people just kind of put their fingers to the wind. I'm not necessarily accusing Tim of that, but it seems it strikes me that way a lot.
I'm still waiting to get into that class, man. So, Tim, I'll come on. If you want me to come on, I'll come on, and I'll condemn James Lindsay if you need me to.
Yeah,
I need more followers, and I need new drawers.
That makes 2 of us.
Condemn away. That's right.
That makes 2 of us.
I'll do it. I'll condemn him for 3 hours straight, and I'll
just
make some
stuff
bullshit up too.
That's the style of the day.
Jesus Christ. I've never I'm looking for the video that I watched of Nick Fuentes. Where he's basically saying you need order before you can have freedom. I'm trying to find that video, and I was trying to do so while I was listening to the interview from 2 weeks ago. But as I'm listening to Fuentes, I think the clip was 2 minutes and change. This guy, Nick Fuentes, is no different, in my opinion, than Hassan Piker. Ugh. Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Right. I'm gonna go there.
They're nihilists.
I see more.
Wait, Isaiah. Before you start, does Nick Fuentes zap his dog every couple minutes with a? Because there is some differences.
Right. Well, there are clearly there. I mean. Well,
electrocute
there you
his
go.
poor dog so he doesn't move for 6 hours straight,
Jeez.
like Hassan Piker does.
Kaya, stop. Like,
Yeah, that's
like you
just
just zapped your fucking dog, you animal. Like what the hell? No, but
Anyways, go
seriously
ahead.
though,
Sorry.
like no, it's fine. I don't see any difference in rhetoric between Nick Fuentes and Hassan Piker. I think the only difference is who the audience is. You know, it's very clear that Nick that Fuentes is trying to infiltrate. If anybody's trying to fucking infiltrate, it's Fuentes. And what makes me particularly upset is that the right, you know, if we want to call what is it called, Con Inc. I think to borrow from McIntyre's race, it's like they're helping him. They're helping Nick Fuentes. They're platforming him. You're seeing him. He interviewed with Tucker Carlson. I think Steven Crowder had him on like towards the end of last week. I didn't watch any of that. I know he's been on with Megyn Kelly. And so it's like the right, like conservatives, are trying to help Nick Fuentes, and the media, the legacy media, are trying to make fetch happen with Fuentes. They're trying to make him the face of the new right.
I think they're more looking for his audience. I think they see that he has a young audience that's pretty big, and they're that meme of, you know, Steve Buscemi with the backwards hat and the skateboard. You know, how do you do, fellow groypers? You know, they're trying to bite off a piece of that nice young audience.
They're riding his coattails. I mean, Nick Fuentes, no doubt about it. He's ascendant right now. I mean, that's a fact. Like he's going mainstream. I know people personally that like him and think he's funny, and I'm like, and people who were like kind of
funny.
Before.
That's the thing. I mean, we have to be honest. He's charming and he's hilarious.
Wait, who? Nick Fuentes is?
Yeah, no, yeah. He has his moments, no doubt. He's funny. And he has the balls to say whatever he wants to say, and a lot of other people are thinking but won't say, and that's a huge part of why he's popular.
I think he's a corny
and he can be a smart guy.
leprechaun.
He's a great communicator. I'm giving him his due. He's a great communicator. He's a very smart man. Or I don't know very smart, but he seems intelligent enough. He's a great communicator. But of course, on the other hand, he's extremely impish. He said a lot of crazy things, a lot of really, really messed up things. And if he believes that stuff, it's how could you can't really trust him morally.
No.
But
you
that's the thing. There's this gaslighting that goes on where he says
true.
something, horrific, and the response is that, oh, this is just entertainment. He's a shock jock. Calm down.
Right.
And so what are people supposed to believe? What are we supposed to take seriously, and what are we supposed to not believe? And I think that's the kind of the infiltrators on the right, people who are trying to introduce these extreme ideologies. That's how they operate. It's through it. They're not going to come right out and say, this is what we believe. Now let's have a good spirited debate about it. They're going to infiltrate. They're going to gaslight. They're going to lie. They're going to say one thing to one person and one thing to another, until the scales tip and then they have numbers in their favor. And then it's too late. That's the game. And my whole thing, and yours too, James too, I think it has been to kind of just at least make people aware of what's going on before they do have the numbers on their side.
That's been the goal, is to try to put some brakes on the train. But apparently the brakes were not meant to be on the train. I don't actually think that the guy is ascendant. I think he's being ascended. And I don't think that's the same dynamic. That's what Isaiah was saying. He's being lifted up by a bunch of people at the same time. All of a sudden, I mean, I saw this coming far enough out where I said it was going to happen. It's like, they're going to mainstream this guy. I was saying it back in the spring. And at the time, I don't know for sure that that's my guess any longer, but I'm still kind of confident in it. I was like, they're going to mainstream this guy and he's going to be their fall guy, so that the lunatics who are not as absurd and obscene are going to look totally reasonable by comparison. And they're going to be the ones that pull the Brutus on Fuentes. They're going to let him rise up. They're going to get him like this big name. And then all of a sudden, what's the formula? There's going to be a crisis point. Oh no, we're going to lose the election. Oh, what do we do? I know. Disavow the neo-Nazi spouting off guy. Don't know if he's a neo-Nazi. Don't know what he believes. By the way, he's not morally trustworthy if he says things he doesn't believe to get clicks either. So he's not morally trustworthy in either case.
Sure.
I mean, the moment where he really should have like lost his whole standing was where that lady showed up at his house and he pepper sprays her because he thinks he's under attack. He's been getting a bunch of threats, and this lady shows up and he pepper sprays her, and the cops show up, and he's in kind of the alley next to his house, his little suburban Chicago house, and he's being interviewed on a body cam by a cop, and the cop is like, "Did you post like a white supremacy video or something?" Like, obviously the cop kind of knows what's going on or knows who he is, and he goes, "I'm not a white supremacist. I am a Mexican," and it's just like, fuck you. Like, let's just be done with this. You have zero credibility the second that you hide behind this. This is like where I started calling him Burrito Mussolini, and this entire class of people.
That's good.
And I stole that, by the way. Somebody else came up with that, but I don't remember who.
So Razor Force.
Burrito Mussolini is hilarious.
Burrito Mussolini.
I mean, horchata Hitler, whatever you want. We can do the whole list of Mexican foods. And anyways, I started doing it publicly. I took this meme, ran with it, Burrito Mussolini, and the whole cadre of these idiots that are lifting him up were like, James is racist. He's using a racist trope against Nick Fuentes. And I'm like, come on. The guy who gets up there and screams that blacks are inferior and this and the other thing ever in the Jews control. This guy can't be called Burrito. Give me a break.
They're trolling. They're trolling.
Literally, like
a la verga.
It's like
a la verga. They're trolling.
It's almost like it's almost like he's literally reading passages out of the Elders of the Protocols of Zion, and you're saying that to criticize him, to call him Burrito Mussolini is racist. That's just fucking ridiculous. I'm a Mexican. I'm a Mexican. Yeah.
You're from Chicago, is what you are.
Wait, what you say that again? Is hold on, Joe. He's from where again, James?
Chicago. Chicago. Fucking people.
He says Mexican is Taco Bell, man.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying. And you know why it's called Taco Bell? It's named after some guy whose last name was Bell that invented it. There's your fun fact of the day.
Interesting.
Something Bell, Andy Bell, somebody Bell invents Taco Bell. That's what the bell is for.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard to get rid of him.
I got it. I got it.
Like, there's gonna be a moment where they're gonna feel like they're gonna have to disavow him on the right, and it's gonna be this whole thing. They
let it get to a crisis point. Right. They throw him under the bus, and now you've got like the mid-tier lunatics that have the whole post-liberal philosophy, looking like the reasonable crowd rather than the crowd that's been holding the door open while the wooden horse has been running through every other hour, dumping us with all these, Russian bot neo-Nazis that we all have to deal with on X every single day.
Marie, these are the floodgates that have been opened, by the way, James, by your by things you've warned everybody about a long time ago about the crazy wokeness of being openly anti-white all the time, anti-male all the time, anti-Christian all the time. All these things that clearly have been going on mainstream media, mainstream people like Joy Reids of the world. Headlines of the unbearable whiteness of hiking. There's like 1,000 of those headlines. Like, look it up on Google. I always tell people.
The people who say eating fried chicken and
it's like a template.
The people who say that eating fried chicken in public is a revolutionary act for black people.
Yeah, no, but yeah, exactly. Well, they so many stupid
real
things.
Shit. That's real shit, bro.
Openly white, openly anti-white, and you do that long enough, and they did do that for at least 10 years. Anti-American, anti-European. There's gonna be a market and reaction and a market and an appetite for somebody to be like, you know what, fuck you guys.
No, exactly. I get that. I get the whole
sure. No, and I'm not.
But it's also like civilization is built off of us not giving into our urges.
Exactly.
Right? It's like the whole point.
That's such a buzzkill, though, James. No one wants to hear that. We like our outrage.
The phrase is to chimp out, which, by the way, search. Maybe he deleted it, but go search Aaron McIntyre's Aaron McIntyre, not his real name. Go search his Twitter and see how often he says chimp. So he'll find somebody like Joel that he's having a bad day with, and you'll just type chimp because he wants his flying monkeys to come chimp out on you. So he wants this reaction. He's stoking this reaction. Then he pretends like he's not doing it. And then if you say anything about it, people don't know that it's happening. So they're like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. But they're playing these games very deliberately. But that wasn't my point. My point was the chimp part, right? The point is that I get that people are frustrated. Like, okay, feminists told you you suck and made you like live according to a way that you don't want to live for like your whole life because you're a 25-year-old guy and feminism has been a serious pain in the ass since the 90s. Gotcha. And so you're going to like show that feminism doesn't affect you by like flipping out and going the opposite direction and losing all control of yourself. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like the way that you show that it doesn't affect you is by not letting it affect you. It's like when Tim Pool says something about me coming in and shitting in the floor, I just start laughing because it doesn't matter. It's stupid. You don't let it affect you. But if you're all bent out of shape because a bunch of whack job leftists called you a name or a bunch of people called you a Nazi, so now you have to be one, obviously, to show them like you lost. You just lost. There's like two ways to lose. You didn't lose the first way. You lost the second way. But there's only one way to win, which is to just stay true to what's actually true. That's what Joel's point was earlier.
Narrow is the path, James.
That's in a book.
That's in a book.
There's another proverb, speaking of that book, that says a man who cannot control his spirit is like a city that's broken down without walls. And there's we have an entire Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you know, after 60 years of broken homes, we have an entire generation of men that have not been taught how to be men.
Yeah, exactly.
And
they don't even have men in the homes. They don't even have men in the homes to even model the fucking behavior.
Right.
And they've been raised, you know, to borrow the meme from, you know, from the post-liberal right. They've been raised in the longhouse, so to speak. You know, did you guys see that viral video of the woman like gentle parenting her uncle at Thanksgiving?
Oh,
her transphobic uncle.
Yeah,
with that like the baby talk,
like
goodness, condescending baby talk. Like, I made this point, you know, like
that'll create some
an entire
Nick Fuentes
generation
fans.
of young fascists that have like. They're this way because like this is what they grew up with, like under, you know, and they're completely reacting to that. They haven't been taught how to be men who can control their spirit, control their emotions, and use reason. And so we have a big hole to dig out of with young men. It's, you know, there's got to be like a happy medium between, you know, the Ben Shapiro. I love Ben Shapiro. He's his shtick has always been facts don't care about your feelings, you know. And
$7,000.
He used to throw that at the left, and now he's throwing it at the right. And the right, these young right wingers are mad at him because he's telling harsh truths that they don't want to hear. You know, but then you have people on the opposite end of the spectrum who are just telling them everything they want to hear and giving into their bitterness and their despair. And so there's got to be a medium there where we acknowledge what they've gone through, but we have to provide them a way out.
Yeah, and I'll also add to that, Joe, real quick, that there's also been a lack of moral framework, whether it's religious in the last couple decades at least, and or just, you know, just the American secular religion of like, you know, civics and why you got to be a good citizen and why we have our Constitution, why we believe this, why we believe that, and how we don't want to go to the extremes of you know, extremist politics, right? And there just hasn't been much education in that for a lot of people. And then you mix that with nihilistic kids who are being men, especially, who are being, you know, obviously being told all the things we've been talking about by feminists and anti-racist people and all that bullshit, woke people. And they're not, you know, some of them have $100,000 in debt, $200,000 in debt from universities who are fleecing them. No, not great job prospects. Dating apps are the girls are going to the top 1% of men, and their women are getting sick of being used, and they don't want to look at the rest of the men in the dating apps, and men don't have the balls to go talk to them anymore. And if they do, they're afraid that they're going to get, you know, sexual harassment. All this stuff is a powder keg, right? Of discontent and nihilism and just kind of anger is going to come out, impish anger. You know, this is like the playground of the devil type stuff right here. You know, where it's like, oh, we got these, I got like these lost boys that we are, you know, and then of course you have the great rat king Nick Fuentes, who like just has this righteous anger, but it's also really funny, and he's really, oh, he's gonna say that, he said that. It's gonna be tough to dethrone him from his position of you know, especially now, what's the word of influence, I think. But hopefully enough people see that don't take him too seriously, hopefully, and don't really believe. But it's hard. It's hard when you bring that in with humor and great communication skills and all that he does have, and you have all the other stuff I just talked about. You know, he's gonna be something people are gonna have to deal with for a long time, probably.
I found the video of Nick Fuentes sounding entirely not like a right winger. I found it. Maj Toure, shout to the big man. The only one of few good things to come out of Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. Maj Toure, I have beef with Philly.
Yeah, but
I have beef with steaks. You know, let me tell you.
The whiz? Did you get the whiz?
I did not get the whiz.
That's your problem.
Wait, what? I didn't get that either. I don't think. I gotta get that.
You didn't get the whiz?
Hold on a second.
No wonder your steak sucks.
Maybe I did.
Listen, I prefer. There are cheesesteaks in Maryland that are better than the cheesesteaks in Philly.
Ooh,
there was only one place.
Better cheesesteak than
Say
Philadelphia.
Okay,
some bougie Maryland cheesesteaks.
There's a place on Washington Boulevard in Elkridge called Cheesesteak and Company. I go there whenever I go back to Maryland. I go down there and they're incredible. They are better than Pat's. They are better than Geno's. They're better than Jim's. All the big ones in Philly. They all taste the same. All those cheesesteak places, they taste them. The only
word "and company" is how you know it's like a bougie hipster place.
Yeah,
like is the guy in suspenders serving it to you, like with a mustache?
Yeah, it's the little Troy mustache. Those mason jars, whatever the hell they call them. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Cheesesteak that'll be $39.50, please.
Bro, that place is
got
awesome.
Avocado on it for some reason.
No. See, you know what? See that you know what you guys know me a little too well. Anyways, let me put this on. This is Nick Fuentes going like absolutely not right wing. Okay, he did totally not right wing here.
The problem with libertarianism is that liberty is not the highest political virtue. The highest political virtue is order. That is the greatest ordering principle. That is the greatest governing principle. Order. Order comes first. Liberty comes second. And order has to be maintained by a powerful state. Order has to be maintained by authority. And where does authority proceed from? Force, guns, overwhelming force, power that comes out of the end of a rifle, and legitimacy. The people have to believe in the authority of the state.
Hold it. He basically paraphrased Mao.
He did paraphrase Mao.
He paraphrased Mao Zedong right there. Mao Zedong, for those of you who don't know, Chairman Mao said that power flows through the barrel of a gun. I hope I got that right.
Yeah. It's funny that our good Catholic Burrito did not mention that authority comes from God. It's not what he said. It comes from force. It's kind of interesting that he said that, but this is where where left and right break down, Isaiah, because what he's actually expressing is a genuinely right-wing view in Europe. It is a right-wing view that you're going to have authority and order, and you're going to have this concept of a divinely authorized state, that the legitimacy of the state will be recognized by people, in this case through force. But the right-wing view, the traditional right wing in terms of what the French right wing during the French Revolution represented, the monarchist side, the counter-revolutionary side, they represented the idea that there is an intrinsic divine authority to the state itself. So it would have been interesting, Joel, I saw your tweet where you said you'd wish you'd asked Aaron McIntyre, not his real name, if the American Revolution was evil or not, because people like Curtis Yarvin, whom he supports, have indicated that it is evil. Well, from this right-wing position that sees the intrinsic authority of the state as, in fact, divine and therefore sacred, it is, in fact, evil that the United States declared independence from and waged a war against its parent country as a colony of Britain. However, something good came out of the evil would be the view, and I can let them tangle with their own theology on that mess. But the right-wing view is, in fact, that order is the key structuring principle of society, that there's not going to be an emergent kind of order based on general keeping of the peace and people having vested interests in building a better life and having the freedom to do so, and that the state is going to have its legitimacy go unquestioned because it's got we all know about the idea of the divine authority of kings, but it doesn't actually have to be located in a king. The monarchists obviously believe that it is, but the idea is that the state itself is intrinsically good because it's a state. And it turns out that this view was probably most thoroughly articulated during the French Revolution and in its immediate aftermath by one of the woke right's kind of favorite cottage philosophers, Joseph de Maistre. So it would have been very interesting, again, Joel, for you to talk to Aaron, not his real name, about that, because he's a big fan of de Maistre. He brings him up all the time. Well, de Maistre is one of the main inspiring points for Carl Schmitt, also, who we also know that Aaron, not his real name, really likes. And so we have this situation where where Fuentes is expressing something that to the American looks left wing because it's statist, and it's based on literally a paraphrase of Mao Zedong. But on the other hand, this is actually intrinsically saying something that the European or the kind of classical right, not to be confused with the American conservative movement, has espoused for a long time, which is that the state is divinely inspired and that its central principle is the ordering of society, what Thomas Hobbes recognized in the Leviathan as the way to keep man from his intrinsically evil and violent nature is to basically have a great monopoly of force that acts upon him to keep him from being who he really is, which is a chimp with, slightly bigger brain, more or less. And so you've got this confusion by the American mind because we rejected the whole European experiment, more or less, when we founded our country. And I don't personally think that our Declaration of Independence was evil. I don't think that the revolution that we fought was evil. I think that, in fact, liberty is a cornerstone value upon which all virtues depend. And so there is no virtue without liberty first to choose whether there'll be virtue or not, because your virtue is just obedience otherwise.
Yep.
And, a lot of Christians get twisted a little bit on that because they say, well, obedience is key because we have to have obedience to God. But the point is that you're choosing obedience to God. And that's what makes it virtuous to be obedient, rather than you're being obedient to a tyrant because he's going to shoot your family if you don't, which is a completely different set of motivations. So, what he's actually expressing is this other view. The left's view of the state is not this. The left views the state as intrinsically illegitimate. Lenin's very clear about this in The State and Revolution, which is his kind of book about state organization and statecraft that he wrote in 1917, the same year he took power. And in State and Revolution, he lays out this whole argument that in communism, what you actually have, so in leftism, what you have is you don't have a state. The goal is a stateless, classless society, but you have a state in order to do two things, according to the Marxists, to Marx himself, subsequent Marxists, and to Lenin. The state exists to do two things. Number one is to maintain class antagonisms, and number two is to crush the enemies of the ruling power. So it is to use that authority or that monopoly of force to destroy the enemies of the state, basically, to keep itself in power. And so what their belief was, it's total horseshit, but what their belief was is that by establishing a socialist state that was seeking to undo class antagonism by getting rid of classes altogether, that you don't have both intrinsic properties of a state satisfied. You only have one, which is to crush its enemies.
Wait a second. So, according to communism, they want a stateless, classless society.
Mm-hmm.
No distinctions.
Yeah.
I'm having a very, very hard time wrapping my head around the contradiction of.
It's not a contradiction, buddy. It's a lie. It's a lie.
It is. Okay.
Lying.
Fair point. That's why I had to. That's why I kind of. I don't know if you saw, but I had to look like.
Is that they are not, when they become the rulers of, let's say, Soviet Union, when the Communist Party takes over Soviet Union, led by Lenin and Stalin, for example, They don't believe that they are part of the elite. They believe what it says in chapter 2 of the Communist Manifesto, that they are the most advanced portion of the working class. That's exactly how it's expressed. So they believe that
they believe.
I don't know if they really believe it.
But they
That's
don't
what
know
they
that.
claim. And therefore they are not
Wow.
fulfilling the second of the, well, they're fulfilling the second, but not the first of the 2 essential criteria of a state. They are not, they claim wrongly as a lie, maintaining class distinction and class antagonism. Well, all they're doing is using the power of the state to crush the enemies of the state, who are the people who wish to have class division and class antagonism. So this is the lie at the heart of the Soviet project that invents this kind of 20th century industrial, mechanical communism that we all kind of have in the back of our head of what communism looks like in practice. But their view, philosophically at least, is that the state is inherently illegitimate and needs to go, whereas the right, which is what Nick Fuentes just expressed, is that the state is inherently legitimate and needs to express its legitimacy through force so that people will recognize it. Whereas you have in the American system a classical liberalism that says, actually, the state is a necessary evil. It's like, it's this shitty thing we have to have because we have to have something with a monopoly of force for one purpose. If you read the Declaration of Independence, one purpose and one purpose only, which is to secure the inalienable rights of the citizens.
Exactly.
That's all it's for. The Constitution is designed to restrain the government to a set of powers that it's allowed to exercise in service to securing the liberties of the individual citizens, which is its only legitimate function in the classical liberal model. So it rejects this completely. But on the American right and left, what we actually have is mostly like arguments about taxes, arguments about the size of the state, and so on. So he sounds like a leftist, even though what he's actually making is a European right-wing argument, which we call Euro trash in the United States. And we say, thank you very much. You want to talk about a conservatism that didn't conserve anything? The American public is still a center-right country. Europe has caved in and bent over, elbows up for every drop of socialism that's come its way. And now you have this guy in France saying, frankly, we're sick of you Americans telling us what to do, while they gut American energy companies, make another crooked deal with the EU, and buy Russian gas. And turns out Russia, not a good guy, not the best country, not the best country. A lot of bad things there. So like, spare me. Like, European conservatism can't conserve anything because it's inherently statist, and statism is inherently given over to the corruptions of the state, and the corruptions of the state are inherently where you're going to end up in socialism. Whereas the American right is mostly, let's secure our individual liberties and keep the state as out of things as we possibly can. So Nick Fuentes, expressing a traditional European right-wing view, you recognize, wait a minute, that sounds really left. He quotes Mao Zedong in order to do it because it's the same freaking model.
Exactly.
And the American right is left super confused because we don't know what words like left, right, and liberal actually mean.
Exactly. I want to.
Sorry, that was a hell of a rant.
No. That
was interesting.
No, it's fascinating. My friend Billy Beck, who is a amazing guy. One of the most fascinating people I've ever met. Y'all should really give him a follow on X if you haven't already. He says, regarding Nick Fuentes, he says, it's the common mistake of divorcing the value from the valuer to him. Order is the highest political value. He can't force that on me. And then he continues, my values are different. I think that's what he's getting at. Joel, what are your thoughts on that? Like for this guy to basically quote Mao Zedong. I mean, it's almost like, to me, just real quick, it's almost like he's owning being Burrito Mussolini, in that the one thing that fascinates me about fascism is that fascism is far less subtle. It is the far less subtle form of Marxism than socialism, communism. Okay, what are like? Am I reading that wrong, Joel? Like, what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think kind of to what James said, that the whole left-right dichotomy is a bit confusing, because America is based on some, Mark Levin spoke to Mark Levin is like kind of enemy number one among the post-liberal right now too, and the anti-Zionist right. But his whole message, I used to listen to him back, in the early 2000s, but his whole thing was like, it's not about left versus right, it's about liberty versus tyranny. And there are, tyranny comes in all forms, flavors on the left, flavors on the right. And that's kind of how we have to think about this. It's liberty versus tyranny. And I think just hearing you describe these guys, James, Mao, and how the communists justified what they did, and they believed in the stateless society, but they had to create this brutal mechanistic state in order to get that done. It's almost comedy to me. And this is, I always think in terms of comedy, as a writer for the Babylon Bee, just it is so silly. It is so silly to watch like imperfect, silly humans try to justify their stupid ideas, and then just like walk face first into a pie or slip on a banana peel, because it just never works. Men when they reject God, when they reject truth, and try to do it their own way, come up with their own systems, it never works, and it's just funny to watch people try to justify it and
you've seen that
make it make sense.
That speaking of funny, you've seen the meme probably where it says, capitalism doesn't work because people are selfish, so let's do socialism where people will naturally work for the common good. Right?
Good luck,
and
man.
Yeah.
But it's like there's your contradiction, right? But here's the thing: is what was that mechanistic communist state for in the Soviet Union? Was, and I say this without the slightest bit of exaggeration, it was to remake mankind so that he would want to work for the collective, but not for himself. And so when you transform everybody fundamentally so they're no longer human and work like a hive animal, like a bee or something like that, then you have something like ants, like it's fundamentally different. And so that's actually Marx uses the analogy of bees and ants in some of his writing. So it's that they think that they can remake man. Right. And so that's where, where you're saying when people reject God and come up with their own schemes, they think that we can just rewrite the script of reality. I just did a podcast a few weeks ago. It's behind the paywall, but I was reading through Genesis. I call the series James Reads the Bible, and hilarity ensues, I'm sure. You can tell how much I hate the Christians, and doing a whole series where I read the Bible. I'm a little stuck on Noah's Ark, I'm not going to lie. But I'm reading Genesis.
Got a long way to go, pal.
I'm reading Genesis 1 and 2, right, which is the first part of the Bible for the people who haven't read any of it. So I'm reading Genesis 1 and 2, though, and God speaks things into existence. Let there be light, and there was light, and he called it good, blah, 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 right? And then he calls Adam over in Genesis 2, and he's like, look, there's all these birds in the air, all these fish in the sea, there's all these animals on the land, there's all these trees and fruits. I need you to name them. Right. So it's very clear that what the Bible lays out there is that God alone has the power to speak reality into being, but man only has the name or the power to name what he sees in reality. That's all that's given over here. And with the exception of making a child, which is kind of like the one, not magical, but like kind of default exception to this. And the one kind of truly creative act beyond even our work, we bring another living being into the world. And this is a huge point, right? Because what these projects like fascism or communism always attempt to do is they attempt to rewrite the script. They attempt to speak something into existence or to become into existence that which is not in existence, which if we take Genesis seriously is literally something that we're not capable of doing and not given over to do. So of course we step on a rake every time, we take off trying to do this. There's nowhere else to step except on a rake. I think it's key. I think you're absolutely right that when we start rejecting reality, whether we see that as a biblical fact or we see that through just general revelation as the fundamental facts of the world, and the human beings are creatures within the world with only so much flexibility in what we can be and become, then like we don't try to rewrite that script anymore, right? We accept it. And this is, of course, why there's one of the main reasons Hitler makes this clear in chapter 11 of Mein Kampf. This is one of the reasons we're so pissed at the Jews, is because the Jews, by definition, accept this. This is actually, the Jews believe what I just said about Genesis 1 and 2 and have an entire lifestyle and religion built around accepting this. Okay, we're in the world. That's what we have, things we can do and things we can't do. And this is how we live. Reality matters. And Hitler's like, they have no idealism. They can't see beyond themselves. They have no vision for a thing greater than what they already are. And it's like, and who's stepping on the rake here? Was it the Jews stepping on the rake? No, it was the Nazis stepped on the rake for the whole of humanity, as a matter of fact.
Well, the insidious thing about it now, though, is the way the pagan right, woke right, post-Christian right is being sold right now it's being sold as a return to the natural order. That, the natural order has been denied by leftists. They've denied the differences between men and women. They've denied the differences between races. They've denied this, and they've denied reality. And so, we're going to get back to reality. We're going to get back to even God's. They'll invoke God. We're getting back to God's reality. And it's even that, though, is a lie. It's a reaction to what the left has done, the error that the left has made. But they're still in invoking like kind of this natural pagan reality. They are ignoring the higher reality. They're ignoring revelation in God's word. They're ignoring objective moral truth, and kind of bringing us back to like this almost this animalistic way of living. And it's just like the left. It's an opposite error, but it's an error in a lie nonetheless.
I mean, it's the same error in a sense, though, not to get too wacky with you, but I'll read this. This is from Karl Marx. This is in his economic philosophic manuscripts. I think this is the most important sentence. It's a very, two qualifiers. Number one, it's very long and turgid. Number two, it's not actually a sentence. There's no verb in it because Marx is a great writer, as we've been told by people like Tim Pool and Mike Cernovich, weirdly enough, in the past 12 months. But anyways, I digress. The point is that I think this sentence from the economic philosophic manuscripts actually contains communism. Like, this is 90% of what you need to know about the whole thing, right? And you just said, just so I frame it right, I want people to understand what you said, why it's the same thing. You said that they frame out what they're doing as a return to some kind of glorious past state that's more in line with who we are in nature, right?
Yes.
And so here's Karl Marx. Communism is the positive transcendence of private property as human self-estrangement. And therefore, as the real appropriation of the human essence by and for man, communism, therefore, as the complete return of man to himself as a social, that is, human being, a return accomplished consciously in embracing the entire wealth of previous development. That's what communism is. It's a return to who we really are, but the communists believe we're really socialists. And these guys believe that we really have to live under this highly ordered, Führerprinzip organized fascist structure that suppresses our chimp-like nature so that we can have order and thus civilization. And these guys, by the way, this book is called Milestones. It is written by, I don't know if I'm covering up his name here, Saeed Qutb, who is the intellectual father of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is an Islamic book. This whole book, if you ask what this whole book is about, is this claim that even most Muslims do not, which means people who have submitted, by the way, if you don't know what the word Muslim means, even most Muslims have not actually understood correctly that man's nature is to be completely in line with the revelation by Muhammad of Allah's divine law, which is called the Sharia. And so most people, he argues, this Qutb guy, once again, Milestones, very important book. He argues that most people live in ignorance, jahiliya in Arabic, or jahili. So they're plagued by ignorance. But this is the same as the communists talking about false consciousness. And this is the same idea that the fascists are telling everybody, going around saying, you don't know what time it is. Only we know what's really going on. Yeah, exactly. And so it's the same model where there's some cult-like philosophy that believes it understands the true reality of human nature in a way that everybody else forgot or is ignorant of or doesn't understand, and that they alone are the vessels that can bring a complete return to man as he's supposed to be. After which, and this is what Qutb is very clear about, he says there's no such thing as civilization outside of Islam, which means, of course, submission. It's better to just say these words in English instead of mystifying in the Arabic. So there's no civilization outside. He's got an entire chapter in this book that's the only civilization is Islam. Okay. And so they believe that you have what we have in the United States, what Europe has built up, all of the great culture of Bach and Mozart, if we want to stay Germanic, if we want to talk about what the British have accomplished, none of this constitutes civilization. None of it. It's all done actually in ignorance. It's the illusion of civilization, which is the same argument that the communists give, which is the same argument that the fascists give. It's just slightly located differently. The Muslims see it in the ideas of Allah as given by Muhammad in the Quran, and then which means the book. Just to be clear, these words are all very basic words. They're not very special. And then the communists see it as our intrinsic socialist nature, and the fascists believe that there was a proper golden era in our mythical past to which we will return, and civilization will flow from recognizing and accepting the proper order of things. But the land of milk and honey for the communists lies on the other side of the destruction of the state. The state is the problem that prevents it. So you've got to have the mechanistic disaster of a socialist economy for umpteen generations in order to rebrand everybody. It's all the same, man. It's all the same.
Yeah. And this is, can I be honest with you? Like, this is why I've started calling Islam paleo communism, because so much of the totalitarianism, so much of the, all-encompassing like status stuff is like, it was almost perfected by Islam. Okay, it's insane at how well at how much, I would say they're all, I won't say they're mirror images of each other. Islam and communism are like shoulder to shoulder with each other in a lot of respects.
So let's bring it back to Fuentes' original remark, though. So he was saying, let me get me wrong, for this, I'm paraphrasing this wrong. He said that you can't have freedom without order, right? Is that basically what his main thrust was? And then he went on to some other stuff that was probably a little bit too fascist or whatever. Now, part of the reason why he's successful is there's some truth to that. I think
there is,
we're seeing right now in the West a lot of lack of order because of, for example, people not being punished for crimes, people being arrested 39 times and then killing somebody, things that just shouldn't be happening at all, right? We do know that there's going to be a certain level of people that are just going to go kill somebody and act crazy, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you have mind control or something. But we can do something about somebody getting arrested 39 times, 22 times, 25 times until they finally stab a woman in the neck or, rape a woman and kill her, which we're seeing all the time, right? So people see that and they're like, all right, so we definitely don't have order. So that's got to be first thing, right? And there's plenty, and then of course, open borders we just had for a long time, and people telling you that diversity is our strength, and it's just great to have just anybody who wants to come in the world to come to America, and that's gonna be a great thing. Of course, we're being miseducated in schools with absolute horseshit, like we guys have just been describing of the leftist utopian nonsense that is obviously not how it works with human nature. So there's that truth to deal with. And I think, people need to come to terms with that, because that, as long as he has those certain truths, and I'm not even just talking about Nick Fuentes, but anybody who kind of brings these things up, there's going to be people being like, well, all right, I'm glad somebody said it because that's true.
Well, this is the thing.
But there is plenty of, to be fair, just real quick, there is plenty of moderate conservatives like ourselves, or like me. I'm center right now, but I'm an independent. And Isaiah and Joel have been saying similar things in different ways, right? So that's not like he came up with this idea either. So I don't want to make it sound like that. But he has some truth behind it, and he puts it forward a certain way.
Yeah, the question is what I mean, it's very easy to point at true things that are happening in the world that are bad, and then to say something that appears to be a solution is therefore necessary. But the
Mm.
question is, what are the consequences of that solution? Yeah, okay. So having like a brutal police state that knocks everybody's heads and make sure that, no crime can happen, or like you actually said, mind control, something like Minority Report, where they
Right.
use the AI to predict your pre-crime and arrest you before you even commit it. We would have what Fuentes is referring to as order, but what he actually means is civil peace. He doesn't mean order. He's not actually talking about order. He's talking about civil peace, right?
Mm.
But the question is, what are the trade-offs, right? So you have major trade-offs if you start to suppress that. So the question then becomes, how are we achieving the order? And he said it's going to happen at the end of the barrel of a gun, or the power is going to flow through the gun, that we're going to use force. And the question, if you're going to say, okay, you do have to use force, right? So let's just keep doing the thing where we're like, he has a point. Well, you do have to use some force. Well, against who and when? And you already said it. It's like there are certain things we think are ridiculous, like the guy commits a crime and then a Soros DA lets him off the hook, or a judge lets him out 37 times in a row and then he finally kills somebody. There are things where you can see, okay, is the problem that we allowed people to have freedom in society, or is the problem that we have judges and DAs that are not fulfilling their role? And the fact is that with, like, look at China's social credit system, or look at any totalitarian system that you've ever seen or looked up in the world. What happens is, one of the things you lose very, very quickly in a highly ordered system, in other words, in a system that's being forced to behave a certain way, is you lose a ton of innovation. In other words, what you're actually putting people in, ironically enough, is a big, giant societal longhouse. It's just not necessarily run by feminists. It's run by whoever tin pot dictator happens to be in power. And they're afraid to make a mistake because that mistake might run afoul of the wrong thing. So therefore, they're afraid to take risks. And because they're not taking risks, what you lose out on is all the innovation that you would get, right? And so you can say freedom requires order. And a nice analogy for this is like, okay, if you want to play music on a guitar, right? Guitar is a very simple idea. I can pick it up and just start banging the strings, right? And I'm free to do that, but it's not actually music. To get like a really kicking riff, I got to have my scales. I've got to have the guitar tuned correctly. So all this other order has to be behind the scenes, right? So that I can express better within the underlying structure. But what that's actually referring to in a societal arrangement, first of all, it's not that, you have this if you were very rigid in how you play the guitar, you're never going to have anything inspired. You're never going to have something new or something exciting. So the freedom is actually limited. What it actually corresponds to in a society is that we are managing to successfully keep the peace within a reasonable tolerance and allowing people the maximum freedom to innovate and act within that. So, he's missing something. You do not get freedom from order. And order is not actually a precondition for freedom. What it is that there is a point after which the peace is not kept well enough to where people feel safe to interact in society or do things. So there has to be a minimum peacekeeping function. But once we start talking about it in terms of the government should be actually fulfilling its role to keep the peace, now we're not talking about stepping in with crazy force to do anything except deal with criminals when they commit crimes, and to make sure that people are aware. I mean, deterrence is a thing. We should know that when people, we should be able to see, because of the punishments that other people get, that committing a crime when you're pissed off is probably a bad thing. So you're not going to do it, right? It's not worth 10 years for A and B to punch the guy in a bar because he was running his mouth or whatever the thing happens to be. So you know that it's just not worth doing. So we need that. But what we don't need the state to come in and enforce order according to some design that it has, according to some policies that it has. We just need peacekeeping. And
but here's the thing, James. So what do you do though about like these Soros DAs and if you have universities that are, and I'm not saying we need to like have a fascist government, of course not. But what do you do about like universities continuing to churn out leftist radicals, and then having say Trump or Republicans lose the next election, they lose the Congress, and then they lose the presidency, and then they're like, oh, we're opening the borders again, and this time we're bringing in a lot more Muslims, and we hope that one day it looks like London. So that's the other question, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, well,
but,
no, let me actually help you. First of all, it's the wrong question. The question is not what do we do? We do need to do something, but that's always what it is. Okay, you don't like my solution. What do we do? Right? The answer actually turns out to be, in some cases, we don't know, or we don't know yet, or this is going to take a long time. We've got a lot of things to figure out. The question isn't what do we do? The question is how do we do it? It's a very different way to look at the situation. The question isn't what do we do about gender studies PhDs. The question is how do we authenticate in society reasonable credentials and winnow out ones that are not reasonable or valuable. So if I don't think there needs to be a gender studies department at the university whatsoever. I understand the concept of academic freedom. I think that the universities would do better to recognize those departments as dead weight and cut them, and that they're providing nothing of value. But what we need to figure out are strategies for figuring out how to make it so that those things are not viable products. One thing you could do is just come out and ban it. Of course, you're going to Streisand affect the thing. You're going to have, the whole other side is going to then leap up to say, well, if they want it banned, it must have something of value within it. They're going to pull the whole Tucker Carlson just asking questions. What don't they want us to know in gender studies? You're going to get a lot more interest in gender studies rather than people seeing it as cringe. And so that method might not be the best method. Here's the hard truth, though. Sorry, one more thing. The hard truth, guys, is that most of the problems that we've backed ourselves into over 50 years of communist subversion mixed with some really bad policy making are not going to be solved in 2 years by President Trump or President Franco or whoever. They're not going to be solved in 2 years. And so what happens is you get these young guys who are pissed off, and then you give them Trump, and you're like, you get them believing their problems are all about to go away. And it's guess what, bro? Reshoring manufacturing is a 25-year project. Like it or not, it's 25 years. And we're 10 months into it, and you're pissed off that it didn't work yet. It's like I said back to one of these guys on X yesterday, I said, it's like your mom just put a roast in the oven and you're screaming at her because she's done nothing to abate your hunger. Yeah, let it cook, bro. Some of these things take a while. We need your hands on deck rather than flipping out because you want something impossible. So how do we do it? What are the realistic parameters in which we can do it while maintaining civilization? And then the other question, and kind of the thing Joel raised earlier, is how do we convince a bunch of angry people that reality still is reality and this is what it's going to take?
Someone has said I want to get to these comments. We have had a banger of a chat tonight. I want to just give a quick shout to everyone on X and YouTube and even the some of the crazies on Rumble who are commenting here. Mr. Billy Beck writes again. He says humans get general order from freedom. That's because the overwhelming mass of them just want to produce values and live their lives. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with that. Let me see. Fuentes would let us say no words while the modern right would let the left jail me for it. Weakness. With certain branches of the right, I actually do believe that.
Yeah, and don't call him burrito because then that's racist.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see. Oh, Quizach Khadarak. I'm probably butchering that. It says it's best if we just discuss and really dig into what we can do within the law. Following the law is really what's important. When John Adams said a nation of laws and not men. Let me see here. What else?
Which is a direct rejection that's by the way.
Go ahead.
That was a key part of the discussion I had with Arn, because one of the things that he and a lot of people are saying is that the Constitution, it doesn't really matter. The words on paper doesn't matter. What matters is the people. The Constitution was just a reflection of the people of the time. We're a different people now, so the Constitution is irrelevant. And I was trying to have this discussion with them, the relevance of having law that you write down, that is in having that principle that we're not a nation.
I watched some of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, and he shot back with, well, if you believe the Constitution is still relevant, which Constitution? Because it's been amended so many times, and it's been reinterpreted so many times, and it reminded me of what happens. So, I'm a Christian. Sometimes when you talk with an atheist or a skeptic or a liberal progressive, and you say I'm a Christian, they'll say, "Oh, well, what version? What version of the Bible do you subscribe to? What there's so many denominations, and what they're doing there is they're trying to undermine the entire idea of Christianity based on the idea that there's so many different versions and interpretations of it, and that's not the principle. The principle is that we are a nation of laws, and we have to remain a nation of laws.
Yeah, if I may, they're infiltrating and deconstructing. That is a deconstructive technique, to throw so many questions in front of people that all of a sudden they don't know which object to hold on to be able to defend their views. Right.
I have to say, it was so frustrating to me to listen to Aaron McIntyre, if that's his real name.
It's not.
It was so frustrating to hear him say that. It's like, well, which Constitution?
Well, even before that,
what the fuck does that even mean? Which Constitution?
The one that has a provision for amending itself, and therefore the one that with all the amendments that are.
That's when I'm in the military. When I took an oath. When I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, there was never this stipulation of which Constitution, and I didn't even say, when I took an oath to defend the Constitution, I wasn't saying that I defend every amendment and that I defend only these amendments, or that I believe that nothing should ever be repealed or changed, or I disagree. It was just it's the constitutional order that I'm swearing to defend, including the ability to amend it and undo amendments as written out in our legal system.
If you had sworn that they came out and said which Constitution, you would have thought the guy was a leftist.
Exactly.
Joel,
what branch were you in again, by the way?
Marines.
Hoorah. Okay. Now, one of my younger brothers is a Marine. I'm former Army, so that's why I was asking. Just curious.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
You real honestly, Marines yet?
Yo, I have nothing.
So I have nothing but respect, but it's fun. I love watching you guys do all this back and forth. It's like when the physicists and the mathematicians and the engineers go at it in universities. Then you got the computer scientist over there, like not masturbating in the corner, but I mean something.
Nah, look, Marines get shit done, bro. We were just animals, man. We got treated like animals, and they just have us off in the corner, like in these tents, just getting rained on, and while you guys in the Army are playing Halo and your nice chow halls, and he ain't lying a bit. Oh, shit. All right,
hey, James, I agree, man. I agree with you in a sense, especially that I do want to work within the law. I do want to be surgical about how we fix things, and not just like throw out the Constitution, which is absolutely totally against what I believe. So I think the Constitution is great. We just got to work in it. I do worry.
I also want to talk about these people for a second too before we go on. But finish your thought.
Sure. No, I do worry about the about this better than anybody. The utter corruption of our institutions to the point where it really makes the playing field very unleveled. And it's like after a certain while, how many generations can we absorb of people who are pushed so far to the left that they do think open borders is the way it should be, and then one day we end up like London and worse. And when I look at London and Europe, I just want to say this real quick. When I look at these places, it's something that could be completely. Just like the arresting somebody 39 times, something that should be completely preventable by any standard. And what might happen is some sort of civil war there. I just read an article about that in the Free Press where they might be looking at, it's not going to be like maybe an American civil war, but it will be skirmishes here and there and lighting things on fire and blowing things up. And it's like, why would we let it get to a point where you know, our sons, our grandsons, whatever, and daughters will have to fight wars with people with whom are basically invading us in a way, and because of their religion and their beliefs, believe that, like, you know, oh, we're outbreeding you. We're there's more of us. We're taking over now. What are you gonna do about it? And you're not gonna do shit.
Yeah, no,
because you guys are a bunch of feminized, neutered bitches who can't even have kids, and now you're furries, and now you're trans. So I do worry. Like, I'm the type of person that doesn't like to allow threats like that to fester when they're very clear threats.
I'm with you.
And I think you agree. Yeah. So
I do agree. But here's the thing:
I don't know what to do.
These woke right pencil necks are convincing people that they have solutions, but they don't. Like everything that you're kind of and I'm not arguing
Islamic
infiltration problem is a hard one. I'll give you this, but listen, I just went and worked with people in Colorado that are working. That's Aaron Lee's group, the Parents Defending Colorado. I probably said that wrong. Anyway, these guys are Parents Defending Children, something. Anyway, these guys are on the ground doing the thing, right? I work with grassroots activists all over this country. I'm down in the nitty gritties. I take all these opportunities to go speak and work with their groups and have meetings. I do a lot of them for free, just cover my basic expenses. If you can't cover all of them, sometimes we fudge it. Sometimes they can pay me. They're embarrassed. They pay me what they can. It's not very much. It's not like I'm out living some glamorous influencer lifestyle, and I'm not sitting at home like a pencil neck, reading a book and sitting in front of a TV camera or whatever, running a show. Because, like, you listen to these people and they're like, what hope is there? You know, somebody in the audience asked at the end of the show, what hope is there? And so Aaron Friday from California, who ran basically the same program in California to try to get these ballot initiatives to stop transition in California, and it didn't succeed, is like, look at the Supreme Court. Like, just immediately, this is what one of the two things I want to say about the different people. The one is these woke right pencil necks. The people who are actually showing up and doing grassroots stuff are not despairing. They're like, we've just had 4 major wins in the Supreme Court, and we got 3 more in the pipe. They're about to hit. Yeah, and then they're like, in this domain, we've got this win coming. And it's, again, they have this sense of scale. This is a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 25-year problem. How did they get the sense of scale? They got the sense of scale because their hands are dirty. They're actually doing something other than being dorks who are trying to piss people off on the internet for clicks. And every single one of them, as stressful, as hard, as frustrating, as many roadblocks as they hit, is positive because they're also seeing the wins. They also see how those are the initial dominoes that start to make these changes. And they're actually the ones that are getting down on the ground doing something, again, instead of getting on the internet and pissing people off for clicks and for power, because the army of pissed off people who is on the internet and is not involved in a real grassroots group. These guys, when they get involved with grassroots, they swoop in like freaking vultures, claim a PR hit. Hey, we're here at the Capitol, burp, 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 and leave and have caused nothing but mayhem, usually getting people in the community fighting about whether or not it was good that they were there or something that they say. It's just a disaster. The whole thing is this woke performative pile of shit that makes everything worse. Ask any grassroots activist actually doing anything in this country. Every one of them pissed off at these people for every good reason. Now, secondly, these idiots, what kind of things do they say to piss people off? They say to Joel, well, it's really just that these documents, like the Constitution, the founders were certain people, particular people at a particular time, which, by the way, is called moral relativism, which is a leftist view, just to be very clear about what that is. And therefore, it was a reflection of them. Meanwhile, a few years earlier, the same people who wrote the damn Constitution, wrote the Declaration of Independence and signed it, and they start off with, we hold these truths to be self-evident. They are truths, which means they are true for you, for me, for him, for her, for everybody, regardless of race, creed, background, culture, religion, everything. That men are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights are what are among these truths, which are so patently, obviously true that they're self-evident. They are held to be self-evident. These people, the point isn't what the truths are. The point isn't the point is these guys at the end of the 18th century were not writing for a bunch of subsistence farmers at the end of in some gentry at the end of the 18th century. They believed these truths to hold for all people in all times and all places eternally, forward and backward in time. whether human beings successfully recognize them or not. And then they instantiated a government that sought to recognize them for the first time on the planet. Their mindset is exactly the opposite of what these, again, jackhole pencil necks are claiming it. They're just saying things to make people mad, doing a critical theory of their own country to make people dissatisfied so that they can scoop those people up and mobilize them like a red guard to attack enemies that they say aren't doing the things that need to be done in their view. In other words, to facilitate a power grab. So when Aaron says, not his real name, says chimp, he's literally like the witch in Wizard of Oz, summoning flying monkeys so that he can stay in his power. That's what that game is about. And all of the pissing people off and saying all this pencil neck stuff, none of them are involved in anything grassroots anywhere, ever. You can't find them.
So we've got a detractor. We've got a detractor for what you were saying. This guy, Ivan Lozano, he said the Constitution meant what it meant when it was written. That's not cultural relativism. That's consistency. People literally didn't consider non-whites men at the time. History, I guess they're calling you a history whitewasher. Go ahead, Joel.
He forgot the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, where Thomas Jefferson talked about the black slaves that were being captured and sold by the Christian, quote unquote, Christian king of England.
I'm going to pull that up, by the way.
He called them men. He said, that this execrable commerce where men are bought and sold, and they capitalized the word men to give it emphasis. I mean, this is Thomas Jefferson writing, and sadly, shamefully, that grievance was taken out to satisfy, I think, one or two states that needed to join the coalition.
It's politics. Yeah,
but it's clear what he thought about.
Yeah, I don't need them damn critical race theorists showing up. I know that was
the universalism of human rights, and that's the woke right and the woke left are both built on the 1619 Project view of American history.
That's true.
That's what they both accept the same premise, and that's also what we're dealing with. We're dealing with young men who were miseducated by the same leftists, and they're just reacting to it differently, but they're all operating off the same premise.
And to that end, James, again, I agree about I agree with everything you just said. I think the Constitution is divinely inspired, honestly. But when you say like maybe we shouldn't ban gender studies in colleges or critical race theory type stuff, I get what you're saying. I understand the Streisand effect, and I know that points to whoever does that is like, oh, look at they're the fascists, they're trying to burn books type of thing, right? But at the same time, it's like, what would happen if there was like, because this is very far left stuff. If there was Nazi professors, like, and they're openly Nazi and they're teaching like, hey, we're going to learn about, not only are we going to learn the Mein Kampf and whatever Nazi propaganda, but we're gonna like actually promote this in the classroom, which is what they're doing, right? And these far left, with their very leftist, Marxist, neo-Marxist, radical stuff, right? As you've well documented. Why is that allowed, and especially why is that allowed to be state funded? And it would be clearly everybody, maybe not everybody now, but just 10, 15, 20 years ago, if there was like some Nazi departments, far right departments, that they'd be like, what the hell is this? This is totally harmful to society. We have to ban this. This is crazy. Why is it allowed on the left? And like maybe, and then on top of that, you have with the gender stuff, you're pushing kids to get, spayed, neutered.
You don't need to ban either one of them. You just need to actually apply the law, which is what we've already been talking about before.
What laws would you apply then?
What law would you apply?
Yeah,
well,
I'm not
there's already been cases brought where some of this stuff is being raised as to having violated people's intrinsic, like the queer theory stuff has been challenged as violating people's religious liberty. Having to if you're going to teach somebody with Nazi stuff, the Nazi worldview is a ritualist worldview that declares that the German Aryan is a superior race and all other races are inferior. It's probably not going to be that hard for somebody to make a pretty solid claim on the basis of American law, on the basis of exactly what Joel just was talking about in the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, which obviously wasn't binding law, but we put that principle and finally got it encoded in the Civil War amendments in our foundational document. So it would not be that hard to bring up a 14th Amendment suit to say that I am being denied, or a civil rights suit, actually, I'm being denied the access to a space that's not discriminating against me or engaging in this kind of behavior against me. And to make it, you don't even technically need the law, but here you could have the law coming in punitively with, you don't even need like the OCR coming in and cracking down on state money, which is actually, I don't have that big of a problem with it. What you actually need is the right to private action to be very widely open so that people who are wronged by this behavior are able to pursue damages. Those damages are going to create a liability field. Think of it like a force field or a magnetic field or whatever that all the institutions are going to play in. That's what all institutions already play in. That's what woke perversion of civil rights law accomplished, was that it created a liability field based on the disparate impact doctrine of law that's completely screwed up the idea that nobody gets discriminated against based on race, sex, religion, national origin, and so on. And they turned it into something it's not. They turned it into communist Korenizatsiya programming rather than having it operate according to the 14th Amendment, which is based off of the principles in our original founding documents being, brought to fruition. So you could have individual civil suits where people claim damages that create a liability field that cause those universities to be like, holy shit, teaching Nazi race ideology or teaching queer theory is actually too risky for us to want to continue doing. But even without the law, you can also just imagine that there really was the Nazi department, right? The problem is that right now we have a bunch of the same liability field exists for corporations and so on. But the problem is, who the hell would hire these people, right? So if you were having a university that has a degree in the name of academic freedom, and we decide that academic freedom on a university campus is so powerful that we're going to ignore these private rights to action under 14th Amendment claims, fine, let's just run with that. What we actually have to have is a society that's willing to say, oh, I'm not hiring those people. What are you going to do with a Nazi ideology?
What do you do when they're all Ivy League schools, though? the Ivy League schools are totally captured.
This is the
Stop
intrinsic
hiring
problem.
them.
Well, yeah, you stop hiring.
But are they really doing that en masse? I mean, especially if they're the smartest engineers. And
hearing rumors that the answer is yes, but not en masse, not yet.
And you know that, as you well know, that this critical race theory stuff and gender theory stuff is invaded STEM fields quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I was warning about that 10 years ago.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: is that there are corrections to these problems that don't play out on the timescales of months. They play out on a much longer time.
Have you seen serious progress with this? Because I might have missed it. I know there's executive orders and stuff, but executive orders are temporary.
Well, I mean, all law is temporary, and so the real progress. There's not major progress on this yet because huge institutions like Harvard can weather a big storm. But what's happening? Like Harvard's brand is not what it was 2 years ago.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. To the point,
to the left, it is though. That right, James? Like to the left, they think they're better than ever and they're heroic.
This is the mentality I run into with this kind of woke right thing all the time, which is the belief that even with the young guys, right, that take out the woke right part, but it's all the woke right guys think this. They think the left is now in power, so it'll be in power forever unless we smash them. That's not actually true. They will fall on their faces. They will step on rakes. We can keep putting pressure. We will eventually win lawsuits that start to reverse the fortunes. We get one lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court, this court, which has already signaled its interest, that reverses the disparate impact doctrine. Every single person wronged by DEI now has a suit that they can sue their employer. They can sue their university. The lawsuits will fix this crap so fast. And then the people who've been purveying it become liabilities and you get them out. Why? Because they're a liability. So they end up getting removed from the position. So the left isn't intrinsically there forever. Or like when I said with these young guys, forget the woke right for a second. A lot of young people right now are like, we can't afford a house. Guys, the housing market does this. it's not necessarily the case that housing is going to be super expensive forever, because housing is super expensive now relative to the amount of money that people are earning. It is entirely plausible that we could end up with people who are making good policy decisions about regulations for building, regulations for zoning, regulations for materials, to prioritize. Most of the housing crisis is down to a couple of factors. We could throw immigration in, but the bigger factors are that people are trying to all cram into cities, and there are massively weird building regulations on what you can build in and around cities. So you start loosening up those, moving around those regulations, and start getting people in office who actually want to solve those problems. Now you've got something you can work with. The problem is, you say, well, we'll never get them because the left is going to run California forever. The left is going to run California for exactly as long as the left is able to scare people who veer vaguely left to believe that the Republicans are the scariest thing on the planet. In other words, as long as they can keep winning the friend-enemy distinction game, as long as they can keep convincing their followers the friend-enemy distinction rather than actual policy is the way to determine what you should do in politics. Republicans are bad. If they get in power, they're going to be an existential threat to your gay rights, to your abortion, whatever it is that you're most concerned about. Therefore, always vote against them. And that's a spell that can break. That's a spell that has already broken, not enough, but in significant quantities in New York City. Not enough, obviously, but we've seen major shifts in certain neighborhoods that we've seen the numbers go. Zoran only got 59% of the vote. He didn't get this massive swing like we saw in the other places with election numbers. You're not seeing this 75, 80% blowout. So you also have
he also
Trump
won in
winning
a plurality.
state.
Zoran, I want to talk about him for a second.
But think about Trump for a second too. He wins every freaking swing state. Why? Because about 4 to 5 million Democrats decided that whatever the Democratic Party is doing is bad enough to where they're not going to vote for it again. So, now we got the woke right. What's their job? Make sure that the right is just as stinky, just as bad, just as scary as the left. You look at the numbers. Rasmussen, not the company, Scott Rasmussen himself put out a poll recently where he showed that the trans issue is 1783. What do I mean by that? 17% of the population overall supports it. 83% of the population would vote against it. So the trans issue is sinking the shit out of the Democrats because they're completely wedded to it. But then you come along and you look at Nick Fuentes and the stuff he says about Jews. What's the rate on that? 595. 95% of the population would vote against it. 95%. Good. So right now, up until the woke right became ascendant, you had a bunch of views that were kind of somewhere in the middling ranges in politics for the Republicans, and nothing that was like an anchor that's going to drag you to the bottom of the ocean, a millstone. Well, the Democrats have a millstone. This trans issue is a millstone for them.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to take them to the bottom of the sea. And
but
all of a sudden, we have a movement appear out of thin air, get amplified by all these shady actors put on every effing podcast you can imagine, getting glazed in the New York Times all at once.
Yeah.
To turn this into the face of the Republican Party. You can't, a 595 guy as the face of the Republican Party. Don't tell me this isn't an operation, and don't tell me its point isn't to make sure that the Trump coalition can't continue after Trump.
But what do you mean by operation?
But hold on. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge that there is, and this is what makes this argument so frustrating for me, right? Because I hear everything that you're saying. I agree with with just about everything that you're talking about. But there are still people who can't buy a fucking house. There are people out there right now who are going through very real financial issues. And yes, I remember, Tim Pool was saying this, and I again, this is the whole marrying the truth to whatever lies and whatever agenda. There are people out there who voted for Zoran. I know them. I live here in New York. I have spoken with them. I see them on a regular basis. They voted for Zoran because Zoran said, I'm going to tax the people who have more than you, the people who are responsible, He made kulaks out of the billionaires, the millionaires, and the billionaires here in New York, who already pay the bulk of the taxes in this state, as they do in every state. So yes, he said so. So there is an element to that. And again, when you've got a bunch of bottom-feeding white leftists, okay, it wasn't just. And I disagree very strongly with Oren McIntyre, if that's his real name, when he said that it was the third worlders. It was not just the third worlders. The people who were out there, the third worlders, were the color legitimacy that were pushed out at the forefront of the movement when it came to Zoran. Zoran's base was the college-educated white leftists, the young white Midwestern transplant.
I mean, his evidence for that, by the way.
Hang on. They are stacked up. I know where these people all concentrate. They're in Brooklyn. They're in Queens. They're paying. They've got like 4 or 5 of them, and they're all stacked up in apartments. That's $10,000 a month. Okay, these people are having, and then on top of that, they got bullshit degrees from S-tier colleges and universities. They've got 6-figure student debt. And we can make the bad life, we can make the bad life distinctions, the bad life choices, whatever you want to say. But the point is, there is a very real element to what people are dealing with. And when they vote for, and like I said, if it's not the Democrat, if it's not these white urbanists that vote for Zoran, who says he's going to give us the stuff that those people have, right? There is an element on the right who take a look at the establishment Republicans, see that they're not moving fast enough, even though I am not going to sit here and say that the Trump administration is doing nothing. That would be a big lie.
We can't say what they're doing because we have to bitch about each other every day.
Exactly.
All day.
Right. And then we have to denounce you and then bully Joel over it. But the point is,
he's a Marine. He can take it.
Yeah.
But like, but
the
point is, the point is, there, like, if we ignore the very real struggles of people to our own peril, to the agenda, to the peril of the agenda.
I get you, but listen, here's a very real piece too. Ben Shapiro got asked about exactly this, and he said, look, affordability is a problem, especially in cities. And you have 2 choices about this if you don't like it. You can advocate to get the policies changed and take the time, do the effort, and wait for them to get changed and have a better situation, or you can move. And people blew his ass up because they have this entitlement that apparently they're just supposed to be able to live in Manhattan or wherever the fuck they want to live.
And that's how human history doesn't reflect that.
Yeah.
Show me the line in the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or the Bible where it says life is fair, guys. Hard times will never come. It turns out that, I mean, it's hard. I hate that it's hard, but it's real. If you want affordability, you can go vote for Zoran, and in a year or 2, you're going to find out how that worked for you. Or you can start doing the real legwork to get the real changes made, which are, again, mostly in these regulatory capacities for building single family housing and so on. People have actually got to do that. I know they can't afford a house now. So sounds like they have a motivation to start getting involved as affordability for housing as a key political issue to drive those establishment Republicans and to scare those Democrats into taking action that might make real solutions. This is literally the American way to deal with these problems. And if in the meantime it means you have to move so that you can put bread on the table, I'm sorry, that's history, that's reality. And not everybody likes it. I live in Tennessee, not New York. because my dad moved for a job. So I grew up down here. This is just what it is. And I'm not giving some, like Ben Shapiro's moved all over the country. California got out of control. So he gets out of LA and lives in Florida now. It moves the Daily Wire to Nashville. It's like been a part of his deal. And people got mad at him for this. This is literally it. The reason the Soviets didn't take over the United States probably in the 1920s is because the Great Depression hit, and all the black folk down in the South that they were trying to turn into an independent black nation. The Soviets were trying to agitate a black nation to do a whole new civil war in the United States, to split off and do a whole new civil war and to run the Koreanizatsiya program that was active at the time in Soviet Union. They were trying to, and then the Depression hit. Oh no, what happened? People needed jobs. And black people, you'll notice, lots of them live in northern cities, not in southern ex-plantation land. Why? They needed jobs, and they went north in large numbers. And the Soviet plan ends up getting foiled because people were willing to suck it up, ditch their ancestral home, ditch their entire family in some cases, to go try to make a living somewhere. I'm not saying it's fair. I heard these guys literally say it's a human right to live where you grew up or something like that. What? It's not fair. Life is sometimes hard. I hate to break it to some people, but it's actually harder for all of us right now.
Yeah.
It's harder for everyone. It's not just harder for you. It's harder for everyone. And what that means is people have to do things called making sacrifices in order to try to figure it out. This, again, we turn to Genesis, in this case, Genesis 4, for instruction. In Genesis 4, you have two brothers. Their names are Cain and Abel. They get engaged in their industry. Cain is working with the plants and bringing the fruits. Abel is working with the flocks. They bring their sacrifice and make it to God. And God was displeased with Cain's sacrifice. And he said he was displeased, and Cain's countenance fell, and he became angry and upset. And rather than trying to figure out how to up his game, he went and took a rock and laid Abel out, who didn't even have anything to do with it. It's just that God liked Abel's sacrifice and smiled upon him. So blessings came to Abel. They did not come to Cain. Cain got upset. He's mad at God. So he hits his brother in the head with a rock and lies about it and gets cursed. Next thing you know, Noah's Ark, we flood the world, we kill everybody. And so, It's literally not that far in the book. But that's the point, is you have these two choices, right? Sometimes life is tough. Sometimes you think you made a valid sacrifice and it wasn't good enough. Sometimes stuff just sucks. And your choices are, you can hit your brother in the head with a rock and become cursed and lie about it all the way along. Or you can buckle down. In this case, it's the next son who buckles down. His name's Seth. Do you know anybody named Seth, Joel, that buckles down and does the right thing sometimes? I don't know anybody named Seth.
I know one or two of them, I think. Yeah.
But it turns out that these are your choices. Sometimes stuff's hard. You can either get pissy about it and do the Cain thing, or you can do the best that you can with what you have and follow the path of Seth.
I want to give people a real life illustration of that, because this has been on my mind and heart lately. And I posed this question to my followers on X yesterday. I said, I'm in my 30s. I have 6 kids. I own a home. I'm living the dream, and then just ask me anything.
Didn't you say you have a beautiful wife too or something?
Yeah, a beautiful wife. Yeah, who I love.
Never forget her.
And so a lot of the questions were like, how on earth did you do this? Like, how is this even possible? And I don't think people were prepared for how unglamorous and unpleasant the answer sounded, because it involved sacrifice. It involved when my wife and I were first married, I was making $11.50 an hour, and we moved into a house in the ghetto that was very cheap, but it was it got us started on paying a mortgage and building equity. We shopped at Aldi. We ate beans and rice and ramen. We made sacrifices because, my wife wanted to stay home with our kids. So there's one income knocked out. We lived in a house with 1 bathroom. We did all of these things because we had things that we valued, that we wanted to pursue. My wife staying home with the kids, having lots of kids, owning our home, trying to stay out of debt. And we had to give up a lot of things that people are just used to having. And and so, from the outside, a lot of people kind of like look at the statistics of my life and it's like, well, oh gosh, well, he's living the dream. Look how lucky that guy is. It's like, no, I gave up a lot for that. And it was very hard. And it was like over a decade of a slog. It was joyful and beautiful and fun to do it with my wife and to go through those hard times with her. But I think I want to encourage people who are maybe struggling, that this, all the stuff, the things that you want to meet a woman, to start a family, to have a house, it is possible if you are willing to go through the hard. G.K. Chesterton said this about Christianity, that Christianity has not been found lacking, it's been found hard and left untried. And that's kind of the road that walking the straight and narrow is really hard. And same with liberty. And securing our liberty, solving these problems, to actually solve, going back to what you've been saying, James, to actually solve these problems is a long road involving a lot of hard, unglamorous, thankless work. And we don't want that. We want to elect Franco and have these problems fixed tomorrow. That's what we want. We want the microwave dinner. And so the uphill battle that we're facing is that we're calling people to something that's hard, and we're calling them to sacrifice and suffering, and that is not that's not going to gain you a lot of followers on social media.
I will tell you,
why that's so convicting for me?
You said it's fun and it was beautiful because you did it with somebody that you love for a purpose, though. So people should pay attention to that part. I have the same thing.
I'm going through that too.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm going through that right now.
When I met my wife, I had a salaried position, believe it or not, at a whopping salary of, ready for this, $13,100 per year, plus like ghetto benefits. I could not go to the dentist on those benefits, by the way. $13,100 a year was my salary when I met my wife. That's my step up from my previous salary. My first salaried job actually was $4,000 a year. I kept that for 6 months, moved up to my $7,500 a year salary. These are graduate student positions. So of course I was getting paid to go to school too. But I had to do a workload in order to achieve this stipend. So I was making $13,100 a year. She was working as an independent businesswoman, running a massage therapy business out of, trying to juggle. She had an office, then we built it out of the side of the house after we got the house. She's trying to juggle 2 kids, figure all this out. And like I said, we buy this house, or she buys this house, finds a house that's, in the affordable enough range. It has 1 bathroom, it has 2 bedrooms. There's her and 2 kids. I get married to her right after she buys the house. So now there's 2 adults, 2 kids, 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms, 930 square foot house, by the way. And it's not like we were shooting for the moon. And this is one of these regulatory problems. If people are only able to build these like big ass houses, nobody can afford them. So we get this little house. It requires work. We start putting work into it. We build a massage studio for her to be able to work at home to solve some of the childcare problem. So we built a studio off the side of her house. That was another 25, 30 grand that we invested in that, put a bathroom out there. So now there's kind of 2. And slowly, we built our way up, but the same thing. It was like we were doing it together. We were making a thing. I can't tell you how many times we ate for dinner. Like the big fancy dinner was when we had olive oil, hot sauce, pasta. I just told you the ingredients. Add salt. There's your ingredients. You put Frank's hot sauce and olive oil on pasta you boiled in salty water. That's the recipe.
Don't give me this bullshit, James. So you guys are straight white males. You were born with a house. You were born with fucking $1 million in your bank account. What are you guys talking about? This is $7,000.
When, just real quick, while we're sharing,
but CEOs of the company, as soon as you graduate from high school, you guys were straight white males.
The key to happiness in all of that is gratefulness. I want to impress that on anyone who's listening. That's
right.
Gratefulness, gratitude,
indeed, of course,
is joy.
Yes,
you can be. There were weeks when I was selling furniture to pay for our Aldi budget. Like it got really hard sometimes, but it's so fun. And when you can thank God for the little things, even when it's difficult, life is so meaningful and there's so much joy. It really, like, I don't want to, like, come off like I'm just calling people to like, oh, bear your cross and suffer and make, go through the heart. Like it's really great. It's a really wonderful way to live, a meaningful way to live. You can have gratitude in everything.
Let me tell you,
that's a lesson that we
hold
haven't been told that, man. The last couple decades for younger men,
being told that at all.
That's a big problem. Like that life is not meant to be easy for anybody, and it never will be for anybody. Even for rich people who were born handsome and smart and everything and tall and all that, everything you want, with good parents, no more or less, like it's still going to be hard for them because you cannot avoid whatever's going on in your head, whatever gets thrown at you. There's going to be something, a couple things, a number of things, and eventually you're going to die. So it's never going to be easy. But we're not told to have faith. We're not told to have that you do have to work hard and that you should try to get married because it's going to be actually going to be really good for you usually. And have kids because my God, there's so much joy in that and so much fulfillment in that. Instead, we're told it's an annoying responsibility. Who wants to? You don't get to be single and do whatever you want. You have to deal with kids. You don't get to go drink every three times a week and go to concerts all the time and go to fairs, travel all the fucking time. That sucks. That's what like generations are being taught. And it's kind of crazy. And again, my concern, and again, I'm not saying the fucking woke right or somebody is the way to go. I'm just bringing up some concerns. I worry about how many generations of that we can sustain of being taught, indoctrinated with anti-wisdom. And to your credit, James, when you're talking about worrying about the woke right, Nick Fuentes and stuff, and derailing the conservatives, the Republicans. We might have Democrats back in power in 2 years and Congress and in the presidency. What if it's an 8-year term? What if it's a 12-year term? Whatever. And it partly is due to that. So that is an issue, right? But if that happens, maybe we lose some Supreme Court justices. Maybe they keep on to go even full-fledged, full force on the woke stuff. It's back. Open borders is back day one, which it probably will be, right? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe Democrats will be like, oh, we can't afford to do this anymore. Maybe not though, because they've been so reckless with things. It's like I expect that if Kamala was a president or Newsom, and a couple of years it would be like a big fuck you, Trump. We're opening the borders. We're the diverse party again, and diversity is our strength, and we're bringing even more people in. So that's the thing I do worry about. And I don't know what the answer is for that. I agree. It isn't good to make Nick Fuentes and those types of guys the face of your party, because that could accelerate things in that direction.
I want to say,
point taken, but I do worry about that because it's very easy for that to happen as well, regardless of whether Nick Fuentes is the man or not.
I want to say this because a lot of this talk is really convicting for me, because when I first moved up here to New York, I did so with all of $120 in my pocket. That was it. This is 10 years. This is back in 2015. Separated from my wife at the time, and in August of 2015, I was living out of my car. I was homeless for about a month. I didn't know if I was going to make it. Okay, like I was running low on many things, and living out of your car is no fun whatsoever. And I was working in the business that I have, the career that I have currently, my 9 to 5. And I was so ready to quit. I was ready to leave. I was ready to, if I hadn't gotten the help I needed from some coworkers, I probably would have ended up moving back to Maryland in disgrace from just quitting. I know that, and a lot of the people in the chat are talking right now about like, well, where are the solutions? Where are the solutions? I'll be honest, I don't really have any at the moment, and I'm sorry that the answers that maybe that maybe those of us in the panel haven't given to you have not been satisfactory. Life is not fair like that. Sometimes you're not always going to get what you want to hear. But what we are trying to do as men who have gone through things, who have lived life and actually had difficulty is we're trying to tell y'all how to we're trying to show you that it is possible to persevere. Like Nino said, perseverance is not being taught. Emotional maturity is at an all-time low in our society. Okay, we've got 62-year-old women who don't know how to comport themselves on their only daughter's biggest day. If you know, you know. Like people who are not like I'm serious. You have people who are losing their minds because there's no emotional maturity. Everyone's just led by vibes.
No historical context. No sense of wisdom.
Context is avoided these days. No one has any no context, no point of reference, nothing. Just whatever makes me feel good at the time. That's what I'm going to do. If I have bad feelings about something right now in the moment, then that needs to change. I need someone to do something. Well, should we?
I want to tell you where the solutions are, Isaiah, all these guys in your chat. I'm going to tell them it's very easy. You want solutions? Let me make this very simple for you. Open your Bible to the book of Isaiah. Go to chapter 6, read verse 8. Become the solution yourself. That's what Joel's talking about when he's talking about eating beans and rice so that he can build a house and living in the projects, so he can go step by step selling furniture so they can buy the beans, so they can have the beans and rice, so they can buy the furniture back a few months later so they have a place to sit. Become part of the solution. If you don't know what Isaiah 6:8 is, go read any Charlie Kirk poster in case you don't want to read like the Bible because you know it's heavy. It's on like all the Charlie Kirk posters now. Here I am, send me.
Send me.
Amen. Yep.
Get in the game. I just had this whole epic rant like a few minutes ago. You guys love epic rants. I just had this epic rant how you don't hear any of this shit about where the solutions are from people in grassroots organizations that are trying to get them. You don't hear it. Those people are putting in the work, and it's not easy, and it's not hard, and it's not glamorous, and it's not fast. And yet they have meaning, they have purpose, they have friends, they have drive, they have activity. They have, like my friend Erin Friday that I mentioned, failed at her initiative. Did she go home and cry? No, she mobilized the gigantic network of people that she has and started something else with it. So she had not succeeded at the things she set out to do, but succeeded in building something else that she could leverage to do the next thing. And that's what this is all about. So if you want to know where the solutions are, open your Bible.
Yeah, I ended up writing the joke that got Elon to buy Twitter and save free speech in the West. You know, it started with me and my wife. This is you start exactly right, James. You know, you start. Okay, you want to get married to a woman and have kids with her. Okay, level up every way that you can. Get fit, get tan, be interesting, have hobbies, be driven, work on your conversational skills. Go out of your way to get out of the house as much as possible and meet people. Be intentional. When you meet someone, get married to her as soon as you can. If she's the one, she loves you, get married to her. Have unprotected sex and have a lot of kids.
Now we're talking.
Put them in a house. Okay. Once you have that done, then you can start looking at, okay, you know, committee seats for local politics. How can I, little things. When you have kids, something happens to you, a switch goes off, and suddenly you become. I mean, 100%. My wife is not an activist. She's the meekest, mildest person. She hates confrontation. But when we were dropping our kids off at school, there was a big billboard that a city campaign had put up, and it was like, "Are you paying for sex? Get tested." It was like it. I live in one of like the nationwide capitals for sex trafficking, and here's a billboard like normalizing sex trafficking, right at my school's pickup line.
Oh my God.
My wife picks up the phone. She gets other moms on the phone. She starts writing the city. She starts writing the newspaper. She got that entire campaign shut down completely against. It's like not who she is, but she became a mama bear. So
Wow.
establish a family, have kids, get your own. It's the Jordan Peterson stuff. Get your own life in order.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then God will start using you as you're faithful to Him, as you do your best and to provide for your family. You'll be surprised how God used you. I never thought I'd end up writing jokes that are shared by President Trump, and I just, it's one step of obedience, one thing at a time. Get your own life in order first, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
how
The
God
very
uses you.
impetus,
Indeed.
the very impetus for this podcast here. Like I made a 3-minute 14-second video going off on the administration and the party that I used to support, and I didn't think it was going to hit as much as it did. 33 million views later, and here we are. Here we are. That was back in February. And in December of 2025, at the end of the year, I've got one of the most prolific anti-communists on my shows. Been on this show, our show, 3 times. The managing editor of the Babylon Bee, we've had him on twice.
Who accidentally saved
God is using this. I don't care what anybody says. There is something here. These guys are not wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I know it sucks. The way in which, and there are going to be detractors. There are going to be detractors in here, like this asshole. I'm going to give him a little attention here. And now you can't get 20 live views on YouTube. So fucking what?
Who is that? Who said that?
That's, you know who that is?
Who said that? Master
That's
Shake?
one of that. Yeah,
Fuck
that's
you, Master Shake.
That's one of I don't. I'm gonna give him a little bit of attention.
Are we talking trash
that
on
guy,
our chat?
That guy is one of Karlin Borosenko's little flying monkeys. Okay,
watch your mouth, Shake
Yeah,
boy.
fuck him. The bottom line is the bottom line is this.
Get my blood pumping
We
right now.
are being the thing is we are being used. We put our trust in God, even those of us who don't ascribe to a specific religion yet. We are being used of God to make change in our world, in both in the area, both in the world that our individual lives, and in the greater scheme of things.
Yeah,
we're doing big things here.
Hope so, man. I hope
and
so.
I pray that we keep that this keeps going. I will say, and to echo all of that in general, I think what we're seeing now is we're the men now in society. We are, you know, our turn.
All of us are probably,
everybody here's a millennial probably, right? Or just young Gen X.
We're the old people. Yeah,
we are the old guys.
We're not too old though, so we're the ones that kind of have to make things happen. Like we're the ones with some wisdom, we're the ones with some energy, we're the ones that are plugged in at what's going on right now. We're not too old that we're being radicalized by MSNBC and CNN like the boomers are, and just don't know what the hell's going on in the world, or being radicalized by Russian bots. Right, we're the people who know what it was like before the internet, and we know how to navigate the internet as well. But we need the adults in the room, like James Lindsay's trying to do, and Joel's trying to do. The adults in the room, the smart people, the people with in good faith, the people with some historical context, the people with a little bit of wisdom.
Exactly.
We need to lead. We need to step up and lead. And that's what I think hopefully a lot of millennials are realizing that now. I think Gen X has known that for a while, even though I know Gen X is usually too cool for school. But I think millennials have it in us to be, we realize, you know what, we're the adults now. So it's a lot of what happens in the future of the West and the United States is going to depend on what we do and what we stand for. So that's so. Anyways, I mean. That's hopefully we're doing the right thing. I think we are. I think we all mean well, and hopefully, as Isaiah said, our platform is used to do some good.
That's what I hope.
Well, if just one of these 20 listeners hears what we've said and gets their life in order, and finds a wife and starts a family, then boom, you've changed someone's universe for the next however many generations. And you'll never know it this side of heaven. You'll meet that person in heaven. They'll be like,
it's definitely worth it, guys and guys and gals.
It's
Listen,
not, the results aren't up
I
to
know
us. It's up to us to be faithful with what God has given to us. You know, like the kid who bring the tiny little lunch, the loaves and fishes to Jesus. You just offer what little you have and let him do what he's going to do with it.
Amen.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man.
You guys, are you what are y'all working on? Anything and anything in particular that you want to promote or anything? James, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's time to promote it. I'm trying. I have finished a draft of another book that I'm trying to edit and get out into the world. Hopefully, before the end of the first quarter next year. It's actually about orienting yourself toward the political warfare environment. A lot of people are like, James is just doing this to write a book about woke right. Didn't write a book about woke right, did I, guys? I was doing a book about political warfare instead, because that's basically what we're being inundated by. That's what this Russian bot stuff, that's what this Nick Fuentes stuff, that's what a lot of the leftist stuff actually is. It's political warfare. And if we don't understand it, we can't orient ourselves to it. And then you fall in pitfalls or you step on rakes instead of doing the right thing. So I've got that. I can't tell you the title yet because I haven't finalized the title yet. So,
and that will do much better, James, as I think you understand, if that is politically neutral, or at least in presentation, which I'm sure it will be. Like far right's going too far, far left's going too far. Look at who's behind it.
It's actually kind of funny. The organization for the book right now, it does start with the reference point of the leftists. Of leftism historically, but it gives a description of political warfare in a narrow sense. It doesn't go through all aspects of political warfare. It actually goes into what is specifically dialectical political warfare for what amounts to about, it's just broken into a bunch of sections. There's no chapters at this point. It's just a bunch of sections, but it's about 2 chapters worth of material. And then I just give 72 principles for orienting yourself and your thinking for how to deal with it. So it's like an overview of the subject followed by 72 principles. It's like 72 rules for lives, bucko. And not exactly. And this is, I got made fun of for this. I mentioned this, how long I've been working on this. I mentioned this in when I went on Roseanne Barr's show back in May, I guess. And I said that at that point, I had not picked the book up again to finish it. I started it back in 23 and abandoned it. It got away from me. I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just dropped it. And I mentioned it for some reason to Roseanne. But anyway, we were talking about the Bible, actually. And so the point that I was making was that as I started to write out all these different principles that I wanted to flesh out and turn into a book, I was like, most of these are just in the Bible somewhere. And so what happened is, of course, the internet did its thing. The woke right guys on the internet took that clip and somehow transformed it into James wrote a book, realized it was biblical, and then he quit, which is not what happened. But, like for one example is, as a New York City kind of story, one of the principles is called the Daniel Penny rule, after our friend Daniel Penny, who stood up to that crazy guy on the subway who was, and the crazy guy ends up dying from after the chokehold. After post hoc, ergo propter hoc is still a logical fallacy. So he ends up dying. Anyway, we all know the story. And so he gets in a shitload of trouble for this. He gets run through the New York City judicial and legal system as unfairly as a man can be. And it's really ugly and, a huge thing. He prevails in the end, but the principle is always do the right thing, especially if there are consequences, right? So that's a simple principle for orienting yourself to deal with certain aspects of this. Don't take the wrong road. But then you realize that's biblical, right? James 4:17 says, for him who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, it is sin, right? So that's where I started to notice a ton of these principles are biblical in their origins, and I'm like, wow, the Bible's super anti-woke. And anyway, I have finished the book. I actually had intended to and got derailed from finishing the first draft on the day Charlie Kirk was murdered. So it turned out that was on a Wednesday. I think I finished the first draft on Saturday later that week because
get the extra boost, man. For Big
No,
Dog
it was
Charlie.
the opposite. I had to put everything down for a hot minute. That was rough ride. But anyway,
Yeah, I see.
Q1, end of Q1 next year. Hopefully I'll have
Nice.
something ready
Okay.
to go for that.
Okay. Joel, what you got, brother?
Well, believe it or not, I'm still writing jokes at the B. So that's what I do on my 8 to 5. And beyond that, you'll see me, on Twitter, mixing it up with people and going on podcasts and trying to kind of figure this whole thing out. I'm trying to figure out how much do I want to dive into this whole kind of debate on the right. That's an open question for me. I have things that I'd love to write. I books that I want to read. Really, just I could go all in. I don't know if it's worth it, but for now, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing at the B, and we'll see where the Lord takes me next. So
awesome. I want to thank you boys once again.
Isaiah, before we go, is there anything else you guys want to address with about the the comments from Tim Pool or Aaron? Not his real name.
Come on.
Anything else that we might have left out because we do have a little bit of time.
This is funny.
I know it's been weighing heavily on your minds, guys, keeping you up at night.
Just funny. It's
waking
like
up in a cold sweat every night.
all these people watch poor Joel get put through this struggle session. Joel's sitting there like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I really don't. I'll be honest with you, Joel, since we're talking about this now again. I hated that for you. Because we, there's a lot of people who, we all kind of roll in the digital space, a lot of the same circles and stuff. And it really frustrated me to see Tim do that to you. I just never, then for Tim to basically reverse, kind of project the idea that James, someone that we've both met, someone that we both talk to fairly regularly, the idea that this guy is some progressive. I'm like, after he just it's like this guy makes progressives look like idiots on a regular basis. And here you are, Tim.
Pretty hot take, man.
Saying that he's the real progressive. I don't understand that. It's like, dude, you're being ridiculous.
Yeah,
and the thing about Tim is, Tim frustrates me. Like I said earlier, he'll say something crazy like that, and then will destroy a fucking a Brian Shapiro, a Brian Shapiro, or who's the other twink he has on there, the one that he loves beating the shit out of. I can't remember his name.
He didn't have Adam on there, did he? Adam ruins everything guy or whatever.
Well, no. I'm talking about no. He's a younger guy. He's a younger guy. I can't remember his name. But no, he's like he's like in his 20s. He's a streamer of some kind. James, you know who he is.
I watch 0 minutes of Timcast ever.
Yeah,
so
I don't want I catch clips.
I see clips
sometimes.
when people send them to me because somehow they're like his irrelevant show is an emergency, and I'm like, okay, cool.
I mean, I'm not in this for to gain influencer clout or to get my brand or face out there. I genuinely just care about these ideas and this debate we're having. All I care about is whether or not it's helping or hurting the cause. And that was my big question after the whole thing was like, did this do more harm than good?
Luke Beasley, that's the name. That's his name. Luke Beasley. Sorry.
The general consensus I got back from everyone I talked to asking this was that it did more good, just in the sense that it helped clarify a lot of things for a lot of people. And that's fine. I've performed a public service there, and that's
No, and I
that's,
think
you know, if I had to get steamrolled by Tim to do it, that's
Yeah,
fine by me.
and I think it's a little bit overstated that it was like I feel like it was only a short segment where like Tim was kind of really fast paced. What do you think about that? And like it's kind of like holy shit.
That's
all right.
just that's what went viral.
Most of
and
the,
all
most of
groupers
the
loved
conversation
it,
wasn't that
and
bad.
Yeah.
I would say Tim was saying a lot of outlandish shit about James Lindsay here. And to James and Isaiah's point, I think it's like either he hasn't read much of James's stuff or he forgot what he said in the past, or, and this is a lot worse, he's misrepresenting him on purpose, which I don't respect that whatsoever.
Weren't you? You know what?
So,
I do have.
nobody should.
One.
Like because you're making a fool out of everybody that's listening to you if they believe you.
I do have one thing I want to ask because another name came up, and I guess this will be, and then this will be my last question for the night. Carl Benjamin. Why do you? Yeah, because
talk about Eurotrash, right? That's
Eurotrash.
That's
Sargon, right? Sargon of Akkad.
He's old school European, right? In the strict sense, yeah.
Well, okay.
He's a descendant of William Wallace.
For the benefit of our audience, James, fill us in on context, please. When did that beef with Carl Benjamin start, and what exactly help me out here? I've never understood this.
That'd be good to go.
I don't know the whole story actually in recollection, but at some point some years ago, and we could look up roughly a date for this because there was a podcast about it where I actually have done one and only one podcast with Carl. It was on Benjamin Boyce's show, Conversations. And so he started saying post-liberal stuff a little bit online. I kind of thought it was annoying, kind of sparred a little bit with him, wasn't a big deal. Finally, Benjamin talks me into sitting down and doing like a discussion debate about classical liberalism with him. Maybe this is 22 or 23. I don't know. It's a long time ago. I do it. I didn't find it particularly edifying. We had some common ground. I think he's a likable enough guy, actually. But he doesn't change his view. And of course, I didn't change my view. So it was like, it wasn't really fruitful. And so time goes on. He continues to say increasingly post-liberal stuff, which I found increasingly difficult to ignore. Again, I reiterate something I said near the beginning. If I beefed with somebody online, they've probably pissed me off 5 times before I said something back, but nobody knows that. And they just see me say something back. And then they're like, James is an asshole. And no, it's like you broke my patience. And so finally, Carl actually says something about classical liberalism, and I say that he's wrong. And then Carl says that I'm arguing in bad faith because I'm emotionally attached to classical liberalism and don't want to view the world outside of it. And the second he said that I was just emotionally attached to something and not arguing in good faith, I'm like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm like, I feel compelled to respond. It goes ugly every time. Then he says I'm acting in bad faith. So I just blocked him. I don't need this noise in my timeline. So just blocked him. And apparently blocking him was like this cardinal sin. Maybe I didn't get the memo of how you're supposed to run your own Twitter account. Like you owe other people who have standing, like, you don't block them. I thought I was like, I block people when I don't want to see their stuff anymore. I know there's a mute button, but it kind of doesn't work, right? If you look at somebody's that's muted a couple times, even by accident, you're technically muted and unmuted at the same. It doesn't work. So anyway, I was like, I don't want to see his crap anymore. So I just blocked him. And part of the motivation was that I generally liked him. So I was like, he's pissing me off online. If I just don't see his stuff that's better, block. Okay, but it's specifically because he said that I argue in bad faith because I have an emotional attachment to my view and I'm not actually presenting what I thought were good and good faith arguments. I'm like, there's nowhere to go with this. This is just a waste of my time, and I keep getting dragged into this muck, and I don't want to participate in it. So I blocked the guy for whatever reason, which mystified me and mystifies me to this day. I know that Carl and Tim go way back. I think that Tim partly got his start piggybacking off the Sargon of Akkad show back in the day, back in like Gamergate time, something like this, some old history. They're buds, cool, They're friends. I blocked Carl. Tim shit his pants about it and has not stopped shitting his pants about it since. I did something the most unforgivable. I blocked somebody who wanted to have good faith debate. He doesn't want to have good faith debate. I don't get it. And plus, I already did one. Like, go watch the one we already did. I don't need to have another one. Like, for God's sake, it's a waste of time. I got so many books to read that don't argue. They're hard to figure out. They don't argue with me. They don't misrepresent my argument. They might misrepresent their own. I don't know. I have things to do. It's not interesting to me to come sit down and have I'm not a YouTuber. Look at my podcast. They're audio, for God's sake. I'm living in like 2006. I'm not a YouTuber. And so I'm not going to go have like YouTube Olympics or whatever the hell this is. And I didn't want to do it. And so Tim decides I'm unwilling to debate. Therefore, I'm a bad actor. Not unwilling to debate. I didn't want to debate Carl Benjamin about something I already talked to him about to no purpose. And so anyway, he's been shitting his pants ever since. I unblocked Carl. Tim did not become happier. Seems like a personal problem. I don't know.
As we forget how much of these fights among the right are not so much about ideas as feelings and ego and turf wars. There's a lot of that going on behind the scenes that, ego fights disguised as ideological fights.
Exactly. I've been seeing that a lot myself. It's like nobody really wants to. There's a lot of people that don't actually want to have like good debates. They just want to beef over, if you're ignoring them, I
block people just to be clear that I've never interacted with, that have never interacted with me. If I see somebody and I'm pretty sure they're a propagandist, I block them. I just don't want their shit in my feed.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
For.
Agreed.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that.
I didn't know I had to be like I'm really mad at you, buddy, kind of move. I thought you could just like curate your feed like you can on every other. Like, I don't want to see this crap. How do I do it? Block.
Yeah, I've been using block button a lot more lately.
Account block, like it's not that freaking tricky. You just don't want that stuff in your feed.
Yeah.
Okay. Annoying Krasenstein, block. I've never interacted with Krasenstein.
Yeah,
block
his ass too.
Yeah. I highly recommend blocking that dude. As well as
you don't need anger triggers constantly that leads to nothing. Like
I'm trying to do something here, right?
Distracting shit.
I need to, and you know what, and I'll confess, I actually need to get better at that, because y'all see my feed all the time. I am like, fuck you,
It's really funny, dude.
It's not all that. It's not always the best thing to do.
I'm with you. I'm in the
I need to be a lot better. I mean, granted,
not quite as New York as you, but
yeah. Mental health is number one.
Listen,
man, for you,
do you understand? Listen, I live in New York. I lived in New York City for 10 years. I married a girl who's both Jamaican and was raised in the Bronx. You think we're at a low boil over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we got The Wire with Ray and Nephew. Okay, like that's my dynamic right now.
You got to remake The Honeymooners over there.
Yeah,
that's the next gig right there.
Yeah, like Ray, like Martin. They're not gonna do that, but anyways, it has been a pleasure to have y'all on here tonight, guys. I really appreciate that. Again, where can everybody follow you and support your work?
You can find me at Conceptual James, and the website is newdiscourses.com. And if you don't know where else to find me, you can find me at your mom's house.
Oh, nice. You got to send me that. I want one of those.
Somebody gave it to me. I have no idea where it came from.
James Lindsay makes a lot of house calls to different matriarchs across the country.
Wow. And Joel, of course, you're doing your thing at the Babylon. But where can people reach? Where can people
you can follow me on X at Joel W. Berry, and then you can find my work on thebabylonbee.com.
Excellent. Thank you, boys, for coming on. You know what? That's it there. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. Even though the chat has now gone to just being ridiculous now.
They're saying bad words.
They are, and I'm not saying anything. No good. No good.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next week, same time, the December 14th. We look forward to you joining us there. Thanks again. Have a great night.
Thanks a lot, everybody.